everybody. Hello out there. Finally got things rolling and going here. A little slow today on the dev kit. Alright, so we are going to start the second tutorial. Where we left off last time was we were putting down some dungeon bits and pieces, kind of learning how to move around the map and stuff like that. So if you didn't catch that video, watch the first one, and you can kind of follow along on this next one. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start working with some of the terrain tools. So more sculpting, some painting, but also we're going to move into the foliage. Foliage can be tricky, so you got to be careful with the foliage tool and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move over to another map. We're going to leave this tutorial dungeon thing here, and we'll head over there, which I have opened already. So it should be, well, maybe not. Let me see. Did I accidentally close it? It's a possibility that I did. So let's make sure. Yes, I accidentally closed it. So there we go. Now we're open. All right. So moving in, we're gonna go with the Lost Lores map. I still got work to do on this map, so it'd be great to be able to do a little bit of work today too, and show you how to use the tools. So let's go ahead and we'll start to dive in here. So if you remember from the last tutorial, to move your camera, WASD, right mouse button, and to move back and forth. You can also use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You can also do another key combination where you can actually rotate your camera around an object. And I can't remember those hotkeys off the top of my head, but they are in the Unreal Epic's Unreal documentation. You can find some of those hotkeys and shortcuts. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and slow our camera down. And let's see, where are we going to start today? Let's head over here. And I need to finish some work over here, so this would be great to go ahead and lay down some foliage, do some painting, do a little bit of sculpting here. Okay. So we'll go ahead and kind of start from this corner. Let's see where I left off real quick. Alright, I was creating that trail that goes back in here. Okay. So we will start where we kind of left off in this section to this section. So we want to kind of bring these two together and make them meet. But I actually want to kind of create a path to start through here. Exactly, Waffle, exactly what to do and where to start. So I want to do a path here, and we want to finish the foliage around the pyramid. So let's kind of make these meet. But I also want to make this look a little bit sandy along here too. So to start with, we're going to grab our, we're going to go up to our Windows section up here, open up the new window, and we're going to go to our modes panels. We're going to open up our modes panel. Like I said last time, if you have your dev kit set up where you have this actually pulled off the frame and out here floating, if you have 3 monitors, it's very nice to do that with. If you're a single monitor, it's going to be a little bit more crammed. Your viewport's going to be a lot smaller, so keep that in mind. I like to develop with a bigger viewport. It's much nicer and gives you a better view of what's going on in your world and what you're doing. So, okay, so to start with, let's do some sculpting. So we're going to go up to our mountain. So don't forget that. So we go to our mountain. And we want to paint, so let's go ahead and hit the paintbrush here. Not this paintbrush. This is for vertice and static mesh painting. We want to go to this paint, which is the terrain paint. So you notice the little mountain and the paintbrush. So that means you're going to actually paint your terrain. So let's start here, and we're going to put in some desert sand. So I'm going to get some sand here. And my brush size, I'm going to start with about 500. And let's maneuver over here. And with left mouse button, we'll start applying. Oops, not desert, that wrong sand. I want the dune sand, sorry. So just go ahead and paint back over that to get rid of that. And we're just going to paint this along here to start with. Yeah, let's get that applied. we're just going to kind of work this in here a little bit, and eventually we're going to change a little bit of this up too. So okay, let me make sure my music's not too cranking too loud either. I don't want to blast your guys' ears, and I want you to be able to hear me. All right. Everybody can hear me out there really good, right? Those that are watching. Just say aye, or hello, or good day, or hell no, Snow Hunter, you ruined my immersion again. So let's get some of the sand painted in here. There we go, Cypher, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Okay, so is everybody excited about the new map expansion coming out? So there should be some hooplas and rays. Hey, Easy! Hey, buddy. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so we're just going to paint this in here like so. Awesome, Cypher. Glad to hear you're doing well. Easy. I know you're unfortunately excited. Oh, the map. Thanks, buddy. I know. I'm so annoying. People hate me. They're just haters. They hate the Snow Hunter for bringing them the wine cellar and the War Maker. All right, so we're going to sculpt this up here. And of course, if you didn't catch me doing that, you just go up here, change your tool to sculpt from the paint. See, just like that. Okay, but hopefully you've gathered that from the last tutorial. If not, you're on the second part tutorial. You're going to be like, oh my god, I'm lost. How can I follow along? I recommend you not follow along right now, but you watch. There's your art station unsolicited. Follow the inbound. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to kind of smooth this out a bit. Well, it's kind of exciting because the map expansion is now going to allow modders to be able to actually put in their own maps a little bit easier than previously. So that's going to be a nice feature and addition with this expansion coming. So going to be awesome stuff. I've already been asked questions. Are you going to build a map? Probably not. Not until I get a team of modders, because trying to single-handedly build an entire world on your own is not fun. Like this right here, this is 2 years of work here, along with the dungeon that I built with it, putting it on and off with different projects that I've had coming and going, and keeping my mods up to date and adding little features to them that I wanted to do. Yes, you do, Easy. You've been slack, and I haven't seen any outputs from your map modding. So, all right. Okay, I think we got that worked out. And I want to clean that up a bit because that looks kind of funny. We got a sandy desert that's kind of edgy there. So we're going to smooth that down a bit. So we want to make it make sense. So it's actually kind of eroding with the sand a little bit. And it's flowing well with the terrain. I want it to look crazy. Okay. All right, and then for our edge over here with our rock, what we want to do too is we want to make this make sense. There's a really nice color here, and it's called the Desert Rocks, and we're going to shrink this down a little bit. And it's designed to kind of be for the cliff faces along the edge. And we'll just kind of blend this along here, where we painted some sand previously. We're just going to kind of brush it in. And get that all in there. And to kind of break it up to make it look a little bit like it's worn here, and there's a little bit of a transition, we're going to go ahead and put in some dry desert sand, which is the one where it's got the little dry dead grass foliage. It's kind of already programmed into the material. So we can kind of edge it in here. Make it look like the sand's kind of caked and hardened here. This is how you kind of create some transitions. Blend it in. Don't do it down too heavy. It's just like light little things like this. So this is work that's very detailed. And as you get more comfortable with the tool set, you'll get a little bit faster. But you just want to take your time and get it to look right. Because if you rush it, it's going to look like crap. And you don't want that. Especially if you want an impressive mod and you want to show your skill and your talents for doing this. Or if you just want to build garbage, I mean, you can do that. That's up to you and your prerogative. But I take pride in my work, and I like to make it look really good and make it actually fit the world that I'm working on. Alright, so let's go ahead and change our brush size. I'm on the flatten tool, and we're going to kind of bring this in over here a little bit. Like so. And we're almost getting ready for the foliage. And the reason why I'm doing this painting and sculpting is first is you really don't want to start laying foliage down and then come back, paint, and resculpt. You can, but it might make it a little bit harder for you to get the results you want because the foliage will adjust when you're working your terrain. Smooth that out a little bit. Make some different features here. And yes, you don't want to make it too flat either. You want to kind of give like little lumps, just little ridges or a little bit of hillage, in there. Hillage. Some hills, some little rolling like type meadows, just see how that kind of creates like a little gully, maybe where some water ran off, stuff like that. You want to kind of put some features within the terrain even itself, unless you specifically have a flat area that you need. But you don't want it to be like flat, because that just doesn't look right. So always keep that in mind when you're doing this type of work. You want it to look kind of natural, like there's just erosion and Mother Nature is taking its course on the terrain. Okay, so now we're going to start to do some foliage painting, or I like to call foliage. So you're going to go up here to your modes panel, and you're going to see we got this little nice leafy looking button. So we're going to click that. And what that's going to do is going to bring you up this big panel of stuff. And it might look a little crazy at first. These are real-time icons, so it takes a little bit to draw, but you can actually change the way you view those by turning off the real-time icon drawing. Okay, but I like the real-time. It's just one of my preferences. So we'll go in here, and now in the dev kit, most of these are always going to be selected. And it's going to populate the ones that are close to what you're working with. So the height map we're working with is towards the desert. So we're going to find cactus, we're going to find rocks, you're going to find desert bushes. You're also going to find some of the ocean underwater stuff here. Okay. The sticks and branches, they're automatically going to paint down, and the player's going to be able to collect them because they're already programmed to do that. Okay. You're also going to find a mix. Maybe sometimes you might find a random weird thing like some of these trees here, that pop up. And the real-time icons are going to do some weird, funny things too. So, like right now it says these are all rocks, but don't believe that if you're using the real-time thumbnails. And you can also zoom in on these and scale them up so where you can actually get right up in there and look at them. So you can actually see them much better. So always remember that. You can actually zoom in on your window. Or you can go crazy and be like this, but that makes it harder when you're trying to paint down the foliage. So keep that in mind as well. Alright, so we don't want all of this stuff here. Okay, we don't want to paint all this stuff down. We only want certain things. So, for instance, the theme here that we got going, and you want it to fit your theme. We don't want to put conifers in the desert. Alright, if you do that, chances are your mod's not going to do well, or people are going to be like, okay, you got a strange artistic taste. So what we want to do is we're going to kind of follow the theme I got going now, which is stone, some dead trees, the desert dry bushes here, and I'm using the swamp palms because they look kind of dead and kind of dry, like they're barely hanging on out here in this desert area. So they look kind of raggedy, and it just fits the area and the theme that I'm trying to go for. All right, so we wouldn't want to put a nice bright palm out here. It wouldn't look good. It would look kind of strange unless we're next to the water, which would make more sense. You put in these lush palms with some green grass, which these are here are thriving, right? And then as we move away from the water, we kind of want to get like, okay, it's dry, it barely gets any water over here, so on and so forth. Or it could be some sort of magic power, you know, the atmosphere has killed the foliage around here. All right, so back to our thumbs here. So what we're going to do is make sure we don't have all these selected, because otherwise we're going to paint every last one of these down at one time, which we do not want to do. So you can hold down, you highlight one, go to the bottom here and hit shift, and you're going to highlight everything, and then you're going to hit unclick. So uncheck mark the box. And what that does is it's going to deselect everything. Now we can actually go in and pinpoint exactly what we want to paint down. So to start with, we're going to grab these rocks here. So I'm going to check mark these. Yes, a single desert conifer will tank your mod. So keep that in mind. You don't want to do that. As soon as somebody sees that, be like, this is immersion breaking. I don't like this mod. They start giving you death, hate threats, mail, scares on Steam. They go to your Discord. They create a ruckus. Then you're going to have to ban them, and that's more drama. You just don't want that. Unless there's a reason why that conifer could be for Santa Claus, and Conan and Santa and Crom are sitting by a tree, then, so be that. I think this is Waffle from CE Discord. Yes, because it'd be kind of a strange waffle that just shows up in my stream. It is. See? The famous waffle butter. Okay. So we got our sticks. We got our desert shrubberies that we're looking for right now. I want to make sure I got them. And we got our desert rocks. So let's carefully go through here. And there's our shrubs. So we got our shrubs. And let's see, we want to get our swamp palms that look half dead. So I want to get those selected. And I don't think there's anything else right now. I just want to make sure. Okay. So now if you notice the brush is a nice large blue glowing globe. That's how big our brush is. And if you go up here, you got your brush size, so we can adjust the size of this brush. Now it's huge. So you want to just adjust it to approximately where you're going to work with. You don't want too big, because otherwise you're going to be trying to clean up all that foliage you painted down. So the next thing what you want to do is also your paint density. So you want to make sure this is not too high or too low, but you want it just right, because if you get it too thick, which I'm about to show you here, I'll make sure that I get it on the thick one, it's going to be heavy. Okay, it's gonna compact in here. So if you're painting down, yeah, oh yeah, travel through that, Snow Hunter. Oh yeah, it's immersion breaking. So yeah, if you want to block your players and really tank your mod, do something like this. It's not going to work out. So let's hit Control Z, get rid of that. So what I found for paint density is 0.05 is the better. And notice how it's a lot lighter. And when I'm tapping the brush around, it's not as heavy. So keep that in mind. All right, it's a little bit of a skill, because you don't want to get too crazy. It's the start of your verdant oasis. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move over here a little bit. So I'm just going to start clicking the left mouse button, and notice how it's auto painting in the bushes, the rock, and I'm just kind of tapping and dragging the brush a little bit as I go along the terrain here, as you can tell, and it fills it in. Okay. So that's what we kind of got going. But right now it doesn't look too, it looks kind of crazy because we got rocks in here mixed in right now. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove that because I want that to be a little bit more sandy. And I want the lighter brush, the bushes. So let's tap that out. So Control Z to undo. So I'm going to start over here. Oops. And we're going to tap and kind of drag. And I want it to make it look like there's a bit of rock and some bushes, some dry shrubbery here. And I'm just kind of filling it in here. All right. And as you notice, I'm going along here. And I don't want to paint trees on rocks like that. That kind of looks weird. So you just want to make sure when you do paint stuff down, it makes sense. Now, usually what I do is if I'm doing something like this, I can go back and delete the trees, which I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and let those trees fly on here, like so. Okay, and let's continue on here. So we're just going to throw some of that in. Okay. Now we want to do some adjustments to our foliage. So now what you need to do is if you want to individually place things, you can. So good thing, Waffle Butter, you point that out. So if you want to put down a single item, what you do is you go up to your tool here, and you're going to go down here and click the box here called Single Instance Mode. You click that. Now when we go to place, notice our tool is now a little blue ball. But what's going to happen here, since we still have rocks, sticks, and trees all selected, when I click that once, they're all going to be there. And we don't want that. And unless you want to sit there and delete each individual one until you get the piece you want. So we don't want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and do our thing again here. And instead of going through the entire list, hold down Shift, go back up to the items that we have selected, hit the little check marks, it deselects everything. Now say we just want to put down a particular style palm tree. So for instance, we're going to go with this double tree. Oops. Make sure you have the shift off so you don't redo all that stuff. Oopsie. Don't do what I just did. Gotta love the dev kit when it does that. Alright. So back to our tree. Make sure we select just the one. Now we got our single instance mode. Now we're just going to sit here and we're going to place trees, and it's the same tree, but notice how it's randomizing. That's the great thing about the foliage tools. It randomizes the look of each as the same tree, but it's randomized its size. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove those. Yes, Control plus A highlights all too, I think. Yes, I believe it does, but it all depends on how you maneuver your hotkeys and what you want to use. You can also, I mean, you can actually dig in here, set up each individual key the way you want it, but I don't do that because it's just too much time, and I want to get to modding and not spend hours trying to figure out keys for doing what and the magic. All right, so we want to do individual trees. So, boom, single instance, we got a tree there. Okay, so that's the single instance tool placer. Now say while you're working your foliage, say you put down an area and you didn't like it and you're like, crap. You can go over here to what we call the lasso select, and you can actually go around, and if it's going to function for me, which sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. You know, it's being stupid right now. Okay, let me double check myself. So lasso select technically is supposed to allow you to go in, and there it is. It's randomly being funny, but you can actually go in, drag it around. It's supposed to select all the foliage you don't want, and I believe you have to have it highlighted inside here. So it's only going to highlight the particular ones that we get check marked. So it'll actually delete all those style trees. Okay. So keep that in mind. Also, I believe I said this in the last tutorial. is when you're in the placeable mode, your light bulb in your box, and you click on everything, notice how everything highlights? Do not, I repeat, do not hit the delete key. Otherwise, you will delete every bit of foliage off your map, and you will hate your life. You will hate yourself. You might go into a self coma, getting to drinking, to drugs, something. Do not, I repeat, do not highlight the foliage like this and then hit the delete key. You will hate life, and you will be angry, and you will want to pull your hair out forever and ever. So remember that. Keep that in mind. Do not hit the delete key. And if you do, hit Control Z and bring it all back to life. Okay. Um, yeah, easy. I think I am. It's called trial and error. When I first started out modding, I made the mistake of deleting the entire world because I had part of the world map open up in the mod. And I accidentally hit a delete key, and then I watched trees vanish from everywhere on about 4 or 5 height maps, and I was like, oh shit, what did I do? And yes, there was panic, there was fear, there was frustration, there was, should I even do this shit? But then I figured out what I did wrong. And once you figure that out, it makes a lot more sense. But anyways, back to the tutorial here and my life experiences. So remember, do not do this, okay? Bad idea. And if you do, stop, woosaba, take time, deselect everything by clicking off on the terrain somewhere. Go back to your foliage tool, and now we're safe, okay? And let's go ahead and let's deselect it and go back to individual. So we got all this stuff highlighted. We don't need it highlighted, so just click off and we're good. All right, so that's single instance placing. Just click this part of the tool. So go up to your little green, double green arrow paintbrusher, and you can select the single instance or non-single instance. Okay, so remember that. All right, have a good one, Easy. Thanks for stopping in, bud. Appreciate it. And let's see, getting back to where I was, my mind. All right, so painting, we got that. Single instance, so you can place individual trees, individual rocks to where you specifically need them. You don't use it often, but you can if you want to, and you want to paint like that. It's more power to you. All right, so now we want to adjust some trees. So what you do is you go up here to your modes panel, and you hit the little arrow here called select. And you're going to click that, and what it's going to allow you to do is individually highlight different foliage on your map. And it's going to give you the transform here. So we're going to go ahead and move this tree off of here because we don't want trees on these rocks here because that looks kind of odd. So you can move these. You can turn up, Z scale. You can do the yaw and stuff like that. You can flip and rotate by hitting your space bar. It's almost the same effect as your placing your static meshes. If you don't like something, you can always hit Control Z. It'll pop you back. Spacebar again, once again. You can also use the transform tool to enlarge the foliage. Okay, but don't do this. Don't do it upside down because now you're going reverse. You want to keep the positive transform. All right. So if you want to go in and say, oops, I put too many small trees down, then you can go in, select it individually, transform them, make them a little bit larger, whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's continue on here. That looks good. That's not bad. Or if you got too much stuff in one area and you don't like it, and it's like it looks a little overcrowded, just hit delete. You know, just highlight it, delete it. Or if you got one of these, like say you pasted the rock down, but the tool's like, nah, I want you to have some floating rocks. I'm gonna make you hate life. Go in here, take the rock, single select up here, highlight it, and just drag it down. So all those floating rocks you've seen in Conan Exiles when it originally started, it was because of the tool. You know, it's not the devs going, hey, you know what? let's screw with the players and let's just have some floating, hovering rocks. You know, sometimes the tool doesn't paste because it's a computer, it's software, okay, and it's buggy sometimes. You know, that's what happens. Or your computer did it, or what you have is there's an invisible collision on this rock surface here. And sometimes when you overexpand the rocks, the collisions, believe it or not, will hover above the landscape. So imagine a little line here, a little purple line going around this rock here, this surface. And what will happen is when you paint this stuff down, this this is designed to paint on top of the mesh. So our collision could be right here, and it's actually on the collision, but to you it's like, oh, it's floating. So sometimes you might have to pull the foliage into and past the collision to make it look like it's seated properly. Hey there, Kuyame. How you doing? Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you see floating stuff, sometimes it's the tool. Sometimes it's dev error or snow hunter error. I've had floating rocks and not caught them. Or if you have rocks that, like this rock, does it look like it's supposed to be, the rotation on these are weird too for foliage, so just, that's another thing I should point out. So it doesn't act the same. So, excuse me 1 second. You gotta love that when you're talking and your throat decides to give you a little bit of a tickle. Okay, so does that look like it's supposed to be standing up? So you might get some weird occasions where the tool is going to give you weird stuff like this. So you just got to go in, adjust it, or if you don't want to take the time, delete it, remove it, you know, voila. Sometimes you're also going to get double placement with your foliage like this. And maybe you don't want that, or maybe you do want it because it looks kind of like it's different from all the other rocks too. It helps create a different, character or feature. So you can also adjust it, move it, whatever, so on and so forth. All right. So that don't look too bad. I think we'll go with that. It's a strange rock, right? Or we can just twist it, turn it, whatever you want to do with it. There we go. That looks better. We'll do that. Okay. So that's that part of the foliage tool. Now we can go back up here. Let me see. I want to make sure I'm trying to cover different bases that I might be forgetting. So, because I know a lot of people are going to want to build maps now since they've given that ability with the new expansion. So I know there's going to be a crap ton of questions coming my way. So I'm trying to cover my base as much as possible. That way folks have an understanding how this works. There's lots of tutorials on this out there on the YouTube. But if you're specifically looking for Conan dev kit type stuff, that's usually what I cover. A lot of people do cover the same thing that happens in Unreal Engine. It's the same stuff for the most part. You just got some prettier assets with Conan, which is nice. Okay, so we deselected everything before, so we only have the one tree. Also, the great thing about the single instance placeable is, say you want to put down some skeletons, some dead guys. There's some foliage in here that's specifically designed to be instanced. So I can go in here and say, oh, we got some, oops, let's select that tree. That tree pierced him and took his soul. That's right. Okay. So now we got a pile of bones. And what's great about the single instance tool is it gives you the ability so you're not constantly painting down the same bones in a certain area, shrubberies, etc. So we can put like another pile of bones here. We can put it out here like there's a dead guy here that wandered up here by the pyramid. Shame on him. He shouldn't have been here. Stuff like that. So you can put in the nice things. Or I want my players to search around and lo and behold, look at this. They found a sulfur rock placed right there. So this is how you can put down the resources so you're not painting them down heavy if you want to control the amount. Did I ever put the guy with the bucket? The guy with the bucket. The guy with the bucket. Oh, the little gray figure guy from the foliage tool? The guy with the bucket. The guy with the bucket and the shovel. Not yet. I haven't done that yet. I need to, eventually. I like to put some Easter eggs in here. The Skelly. The guy with the bucket. Okay, so let's see here. So that's the single instance tool. That looks right there. We can go ahead and let's go ahead and pick some more foliage here because I need to finish this with some rocks and shrubbery. So let's go ahead and get our rocks selected again. So you can just go back individually select these, or you can, hit Control and select them. But I don't want to go overkill and mess things up here. Oh, we need our shrubs. So let's go back up here and get our desert shrubs. Okay. We got those selected. These are instance rocks here too. These are for the reason why foliage, you can draw so much foliage is too, it's an instance. And what an instance means is I'm taking a mesh, and what we're doing is like this tree, for instance. If we were to place a static mesh of that tree everywhere in this map, you would have frame rate loss from hell. Your players would hate you, your map would run like crap. What an instance does is that the engine is going to take that one mesh and it's drawing duplicates across the world or in the area you're in as one, what they call draw call. And that's what you want. You don't want a bunch of draw calls, because the more draw calls you get, the more it's taxing on your GPU and your CPU. So instances are nice, and that's what happens with the foliage tools, is that these are converted to instances. So these rocks here, getting back to these rocks, because that's where I started from, they're an instance. So I want to place a bunch of these type of rocks instead of all these ones that we have placed, because we're trying to save for optimization. We're trying not to overkill the area and force your little computers out there. Or if you have a potato PC, it'll be grinding and crunching, trying to survive, but it'll be a fried potato at the end. So what's nice with these is you can paste them down, stretch them out, and make them fit in like the world. Let's see here. So I'll highlight one of these. Actually, we'll come back to that here in a little bit. So let's just go ahead and paint these rocks down and make sure we got our bushes selected. Oh, let's deselect our skeletons, because we don't want a crap ton of skeletons here. And look, unless our story is they ran toward the pyramid and a wall of fire shot down and killed them all, then we could have bodies spread here in a little book that says that. Then that makes sense. But if we have just a big pile of bodies out here, that looks kind of creepy, kind of weird, and then doesn't make any sense of why it's all there. So keep that in mind too when you're designing. All right, so let's go back to our tool. Let's deselect single instance mode. Let's get back to paintbrush mode. Okay. And let's go ahead and start painting our rocks and our bushes down, because I didn't really want this too super heavy. We'll leave that. Yeah, look at that, the random resource. Yeah, we can leave that there. That'll be okay. And what we'll do is we'll probably put some more sulfur over here, because what I want to do is I want to lead the players up to this little area up here up top, and this little path down here I built, which will bring them over here because it's a different route. So we got some really cool stuff happening over here in this area. So back to this area. So, all right. So the trick is we don't want to get too heavy, but we want it to kind of look natural and stuff like that. So let's just do this a little bit. Some sporadic bushes, sporadic rocks, etc., etc. All right. And so far, I think it's looking okay. I mean, what do you think, chat? Does this look artistic? Does it make sense? Does it look real? Does it flow nicely? It's always good. It's always good. You gotta ask chat. Chat's opinion is important sometimes. They let me know if I break immersion. They sure do. They let me know. Okay, so let's go back to our single instance tool real quick. So we're going to use this a lot right now because we put down some foliage. And I just want to adjust this, because what I would like to do is maybe put a path up here too. Kind of like a little lightweight worn path. And we'll go ahead and put these rocks here to the side a little bit. And this is kind of be a little natural point to where, notice how we got this little point here where we want players to cross the bridge, head up this way. Yeah, you put some oak trees in, chances are it's not going to fit our pyramid desert theme here. Okay, so let's make it look like this is been used or is continually used. So let's go back to our sculpt real quick because we're going to make an adjustment here. So let's get our flatten tool out and kind of bring this edge down. And I like to use the flatten tool personally to sculpt terrain. I mean, it's all in preference and how you decide to do this. I like it because then I can get what I like to call weebles, or natural deformations in the terrain. So it's not all just flat and hunky-dory. But also you can then use your smooth tool, come in here, let's shrink that down a little bit, the strength and the size of that, and we're just going to smooth it in to kind of make it look natural. Alright, like so. And sometimes it's good to get down here with the camera to take a look to make sure it flows right. It feels like it's going to flow right. Because you also have a hard time with scale too. So remember, scale is important. So you got to pretend you're playing the game down here, and then when you go to do your test of the game with your actual player, it's pretty close. Then all you got to do is make minor adjustments. So for the most part, that looks pretty good. So we'll go up to our paint tool. So remember, paintbrush mountain, that's to paint the actual terrain, not this paintbrush here. That's for static mesh and vertice paint. So we're going to go over here to the desert flats because it's got the nice crusty, kind of like worn, like people have walked on it, and it's kind of worn down and kind of packed in. And I'm just going to lightly tap, and I lowered the strength a little bit earlier, so we can just kind of tap it in here with our left mouse button and get it to look like it's kind of an old path. It's slightly been used, and just kind of tap it in to make it look like it's meant to be here. You know, just like so. So I'm giving you art lessons here too, guys. So if you haven't noticed, I've been giving you art as well to help you, make the flow. So it feels right. Because if you don't, your mod is gonna get all kinds of haters. You're gonna get hate mail. Your Discord's gonna be filled, and then you gotta ban those people. And you ban them for good reason. They hated on me. They hated my beautiful artistic creation with a conifer out in the middle of the desert. They just don't understand me. They don't understand my art style. So keep that in mind. If you want a good mod, you want to make it fit the game and the game's lore. Unless your world is strictly conifers in a desert, all right, well, draw your lore up to that and pray that people believe that. Because believe it or not, you can actually destroy fantasy. Your fantasy's got to be somewhat rooted in realism or kind of realistic. Does it seem like it could be real? Because believe it or not, some books have tried fantasy and tried to do their own thing, and believe it or not, their readers are like, dude, were you smoking crack when you said that this airplane flies from tobacco smoke? And he's like, but yeah, dude, just don't see how tobacco smoke is going to make your plane fly. But dude, it's my fantasy world. All right, you're in your own little world. I think that's why we get the term in their own little world. Some people are in their own little world. So keep that in mind. Yes, Bob Rossisms. Well, occasionally I do that. Occasionally, sometimes I can get that very calm voice and be like, oh, see this little pretty rock here? What we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to go up here to our full launch tool, and we're going to get our little single instance, this little pointed arrow here, this little pretty cute little arrow here. And what we're going to do is we're going to just this little rock. Yeah, he's going to have a little friend over here, and we're going to paint that in, and we're going to bring this rock in here, and it's going to be like a little 3 friends, you know, great friends. And then it happens to be that a cactus comes in and decided that he wanted to live in here. So we're going to go ahead and paint this cactus. Boom! Oh, wait a minute. These people weren't invited. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. But you just want to make sure you do this right so it looks great. Okay, and so far I think our path doesn't look too heavily worn. Looks like it's naturally fitting in. And to check it, we'll do a play test, and we're going to cross our fingers that when I go to hit play test, we don't crash the dev kit. So we're going to go ahead and start from this hill that we kind of painted. So let's go all the way back down here to the bridge. So let's go right here. And what we're going to do is play from here, and hopefully it don't crash. But also what we want to do too is we want to walk up the area that we painted to see if it feels right. You know, does our eye get snagged in a direction to where it's like, oh, wait a minute, why is that giant ugly tree standing there and it's sideways or it's sunk in the ground? So that way we can get that sensation that we're playing. Oh yeah, I could do a series. It'd be kind of a crazy series, but we could. We could push it. I have to watch more Bob Ross videos. My grandpa used to make fun of him. My grandma loved watching Bob Ross because she's an artist. And my grandfather would sit there and just poke at Bob Ross. He says, he's really good, but he just takes that paintbrush and slaps shit all over and talks about little birds and trees and bears. And oh, it was great. My grandfather was hilarious when he used to make fun of Bob Ross on TV. It was funny. Slapping shit all over. Yeah, it was funny. All right, so far so good. Let's pray it don't crash, because this is the first time I play tested with the new dev kit stuff being installed for the expansion. So let's hope this works out. You need to beat the devil out of. Oh man, it'd be funny. Yeah, I'll have to watch more. Maybe we'll do something like that. It'll be kind of fun. But I'm the Bob Ross of map modding and dungeon building. Get myself a fro like him, curly fro. Get a wig and everything. Get myself a beard going. Yeah, I might have to do fresh dev kit. This is gonna be crazy. And I just got done doing fresh dev kit. Probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I reinstalled the dev kit. So let's see. Ooh, 3,920 shaders. Yep, see, so we got to do the shader compile right now too. Which is great because it's good for the tutorial stream, because I was talking about that last tutorial where you're going to have to hold on. You're going to be slowed down because of shader compiling. So, yeah, he did do landscapes. Yeah, he did. This is just a 3D version. You're absolutely right. All right, let's get rid of our food, starvation, and waters. And let's turn off no sprint cost. Let's make ourselves a god, even though I don't have anything here to kill me. And we're compiling. We'll just let these shaders compile, because if we start moving, it's going to kind of stutter a lot worse than what it usually does in the dev kit. So also remember too, when you're stuttering in the dev kit, it's because you're actually running the editor and you're trying to run, like, playing the full game at the same time. So keep that in mind. You are going to get some performance issues. Okay, shaders and compiled. Let's do this. Let's get rid of this red around the screen here. That's irritating. So I said give me food. Is it not giving me the food? Uh-oh, we might have a problem. Look at that. It's not giving me the food, guys. Uh-oh. I think dev kit food is not working. R-O. R-O. Ruh-roh, Raggy. Ruh-roh. Okay, so let's go this. Let's go admin, and let's get a pile of aloe soup. just in case. All right, aloe soup. Give me some aloe soup. Let's eat some aloe soup. Oh, we're regenerating. Thank God. All right. Yeah, I'm just half dead. Nope, more aloe soup. Gotta eat more aloe soup. Come on, aloe soup. Okay, so back to our tutorial thing here, hopefully. I don't want to get too distracted. We'll try to make this a 2-hour stream, so I'm going to spend an hour. I like to do the live tutorial because I would hate to sit here at the computer talking to myself. The dogs would look at me all crazy like, who the fuck's he talking to? And they'd be rolling their heads like, there's nobody else in the room. See, they know I'm talking on stream when they see the headset going on, but... Okay. We're good. We're good. Let's just get that full. Okay, so we're good. All right, so like I said before, what we want to do is make it kind of natural looking, like we just passed over this bridge. And we rolled in here and look at like, okay, this path's been used, but maybe it hasn't been used in a while, but it's naturally kind of formed here. You know, people, caravan perhaps, used to roll through here. So we just kind of followed up, and we just kind of want to flow with it, maybe look around and see if there's any odd things that stick out that it doesn't look like it fits. And this is kind of bare right now. Obviously that's going to stick out like a sore thumb, but maybe this doesn't seem right to me right now. It doesn't, so I'll be fixing that later. But to you guys, it probably, if you don't have an art eye, you're like, ah, that looks cool. Wow, I like that. So you just roll up here. You look for anything odd that just doesn't seem right, doesn't feel right, you know, and you just keep rolling. And you go through, and I can tell you right now, like this area here, this is things like this, you're going to find like, okay, this looks kind of strange. Like this here, definitely things like this you don't want. That looks weird. So it's already pointing out to me like, yeah, we're going to have this here. You're going to run into this giant hole with nothing in it. So you're going to look for like large gaps that just doesn't flow right. This is kind of nice and hilly. So we're going to do some work in here. But yeah, the big thing is look for double meshes too. So when we're doing this, we want to look to see if there's trees stacked on top of each other. That does happen. And you just kind of flow through. Or this, you might have a bush that's actually in the middle of a tree. So you want to kind of remove those type of things if you can find them. You don't have to do this all the time, but like, see, example, right here, see, foliage tool said, hey, guess what? We're going to double lap, so screw you. So now you got to come in here and remove me. Haha. So the dev kit can be your friend, and it can be also your enemy. You might also get players who are like, Snow Hunter, you ruined my immersion again. What were you thinking by putting this bush in a tree? I mean, seriously, I've had that kind of, told to me like, hey, do you realize there's a rock in the wall? Where at? Could you show me? There's a rock in a wall. Well, can you show me? It's in Kazkami. Okay, where at in Kazkami is the rock in the wall? So, being nice to your modders helps, because if you can actually give me a screenshot, a snapshot, a location of where said rock is sticking in a wall, I can help fix that really quickly. But if you don't tell me, I'm going to spend hours doing this going, okay, where's the rock in the wall, to remove? Yes, the tree is stretching its roots. So things like that, keep in mind that the foliage tool is going to be finicky. But if you don't care and you like bushes growing out of trees, okay, you can have that. It's up to you. Me, I like to try to be good and take pride in my work and make it seem sensible. Or like this rock here, that's going to annoy me for a little while because it's sticking out of the ground like it's trying to jump out of the ground. And it doesn't seem like a natural angle for that rock. This you could get away with because it's large, so it might be a large giant rock sticking out of the ground. So keep that in mind as well. little things like this where like this bush is sticking kind of partially through the rock, you might be able to get away with that, and sometimes I let that go in my own mods because it's just sometimes too hard to fight the foliage tool. So little things like that, your players usually don't catch that and don't mind. They don't really care because they've seen it in the vanilla game. So far so good. It looks like we've only got like, one bush hanging out of a tree. And then, or like this weird shit here. You know, yeah, these two are friends. He's holding his hand. You know, we're best of buds. You know, things like that. You just go in, you fix it, you adjust it. Or like this here, you might make some adjustments. Or it might be so light that, hey, it looks like the bush has just kind of wrapped itself around the tree, and your players might not even notice it at first. They just come up here because I'm looking for wood, and they're not even paying attention because they're so immersed. So that's good. If I can fake you out with immersion, or like this here, see, so we got another one like a rock kind of growing in a tree, things like that. And luckily for this little paint down, we didn't have too much going on with that, but keep that in mind. Or this here. So like this tree is quite large, but the problem here is if you notice the root structure where it kind of angles out to flare out, that is odder than a $2 bill or, weird things. So you just go in, oops, see, don't do that. Modes tool, foliage, single instance, we can click our tree. We can bring it down now, shrink it, so now it looks correct. Yeah, so we really want to make sure that it looks decent. And then it looks like this is kind of double length. Like whoever created this model did an awesome job of trying to blend it to make it bigger because they didn't like it being a short tree. They wanted a long tree. Okay. So let's go here. Let's see here. So we can single mode move that. Oh, let's sync this. Oh, look at that bad boy. That's a trunk. All right, so let's do that. We had a rock over here. Go in, shrink it down a little bit if we want to. That tree here too. This is kind of big too, so let's go ahead and pull that bad boy down, and let's pull the bad boy here a little bit. Because those are some large trees I painted there for whatever reason back in the day, and that was probably months ago. And we just go through, make our adjustments. Let's do that. That's okay. It's a thick base tree, right? And like I said, it's the single instance tool, so that gives us the ability to move and adjust the foliage meshes where we want them. The geography in the ground, what do you mean, Call? The geo hidden in the ground. Oh, I bet it's a telemarketer. Stand by 1 sec, guys. Oh, that guy was trying to sell me a set of paintbrushes, a brand new car, and a health package. All for $10.99 plus shipping and handling. Okay. Yeah, the engine is right now it's set up to where visually these things will cut and disappear out of view. That's a good question. I would assume that it culls that out, but it may not, so it might just still draw it in regardless. Unreal's kind of funky, so it may still render that crap in. So, okay, there you go. It doesn't. So Derp's got some experience with that, so it don't. Yeah, Unreal it's silly how it works because it'll render stuff from like right now I'm having an issue with some meshes that are rendering not in Conan but in the game I'm developing where they are drawing clear across the world, and I've tried everything to stop it, but whoever designed this or this mesh that I have right now it's a nightmare. So, but there's ways to do it. Yes, there are ways to do it. Okay, here's a good example. Like we didn't even see this through our playthrough, so we're just gonna go ahead and move this and adjust this. All right, so is everybody comfortable with the individual select tool? So now you know how to individually select your different bushes, your rocks, your trees, anything that you need to move static mesh wise with foliage, which is, or sorry, instance mesh, I should say, with foliage, you can do. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Bring that over. Yeah, and this is a way just to adjust certain things too. So if you want to adjust something you don't like the where it's at, you can just go in and maneuver, adjust it. However, these ones here you're not going to be able to select because they are part of the material plugged into a whole nother little system that will probably be covered in another tutorial later on down the road, maybe years from now, who knows, we'll see. All right, so our sulfur block here, let's go ahead and yeah, let's leave it there, I guess. And then what we'll do is we're going to do some stuff here eventually. All right, oh, and let's fix this kind of floaty rock. We're sinking a little bit more. Now it's not the crazy angle. Yeah, so some of these you can just sink. Some of these you can adjust. Some you can delete. You know, if you got too many little rocks in an area you don't like it, just go in, delete, delete, delete. You know, break it up a little bit. You know, if you got too many repeaters, you know, like so. You know, like that. So it'll help performance-wise by like 0.0000001%. Okay. So question. I'm looking into a fix for that. Okay. Yeah, no fighting in my chat. I will static mesh you and then put you in game. All right. So going along here, like see, notice how we had a double bush there. So we just kind of moved it a little bit. I mean, you can double bush, you know, double bush. You double bush these up like that. That's, I mean, it fits. I mean, you know, they're plants growing within plants. You know, but if you don't want to, you want to spread it apart a little bit, you know, you can do that. Okay, and then our tree over here, our dead log. You guys are no longer that close. Okay, you're gonna look like you're supposed to be over here, dead log. So let's see. And you want to make sure that you don't have a dead log like that floating. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with it. You know, single select of the tool. But let's just go ahead and sink that in like it's kind of buried in some sand. You know, etc., etc. All right. So let's see. Moving along with the foliage tool, because I know there's a lot of people who want to know how to do foliage. And yes, it's not a static mesh. This is a static mesh. And there's a difference too. So always keep that in mind. So let me see if I can find the actual foliage in the game. So let's do this. Let's do palm tree. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so a good example. All right, so in your dev kit, which is great, this will do some teaching for some folks that don't know this. So these palm trees here are light blue. The light blue represents that they're an actual static mesh. So we can grab it, pull it out here. All right, and literally it's static, and it's one individual thing. So like I said, so if we painted a bunch of these weird palm trees down, they're going to kill your performance. Okay, so you don't want to do that. All right, you want to use the foliage tool to paint down foliage. All right, so don't do this unless they're specific static meshes, like say you got like 10 giant, like for like the giant redwoods and stuff like that. Those are static. Like the jungle, those are static. Some of those are static and not instanced. So that way you can actually build on them. You know, they're set up differently. So let's go back to our foliage tool. All right, so I'm going to pull this out. Oh, And foliage is green, is usually a green. So this green here represents that it's an instanced mesh in the foliage tool. So like here, you see the green. All right, so I'm teaching you some things there. And then the red here, usually is texture, and then destructive meshes, like destructive is, these are like a kind of an orangey red. So those are destructible mesh. So it's a mesh that can actually crack apart or looks like it's falling apart. Don't ask me how all that stuff works, because I would be lying saying that I do. I've never played with any of that yet. Okay. So moving along. So just want to point that out to everybody so they knew that. And now since I dragged this thing out, it's like, oh shit, how do we get rid of it? Well, because it's a static mesh, we need to go to our placeable tool, not the foliage tool, and actually select it now. Okay, and then remove it from our map. Boop. Okay. So keep that in mind as well when you're putting down foliage and stuff and static meshes. Otherwise, you're going to get confused. And I'm trying to keep you from getting too confused. And if I have confused you, rewatch the video, pause it, rewind, rewatch until it makes sense. And if it still don't make sense, just shout out to me. Say, Snow Hunter, you confused me. Your immersion, your painting, Bob Ross, all that stuff is just, oh, my mind is blown. All right, so like this here, and I knew this happened, but I haven't got to it until now. But notice how we got this palm tree kind of growing into a rock, clipping, and that just doesn't look right. So make sure you don't do things like that. So we'll take our single tool. This is your friend. The single select, go in, adjust it, move it. But I want that tree there. Well, see if we can rotate it. So can we rotate the tree away from the mountain? See, now that makes more sense. And then we can place it, shift it, ta-da. Voila. Now it's not clipping. They don't look like they were having a weird intimate relationship against the rock. Hey! It's the LOL, the laugh out loud, X times 2, I don't know. Hello, dude, how you doing? So, there we have it, the instance foliage tool. Now, I've never played with this paint bucket, so I don't recommend it, because I haven't even touched it. It's like, it's like, paint bucket? I was like, nah, it might paint the entire world. I don't know, so I never played with it. And I still haven't looked into and investigated the paint bucket. So keep that in mind. Place it, shift it, place it, shift it. That's right. That's how it works, baby. That's how it works. Okay, so the lasso tool I told you about. Let's see if we can actually get that kind of working here. So let's go ahead and let's select a few things here. So let's select this top roll so I can kind of show that a little bit more in depth here. All right, so we got that. We're going to go ahead and let's take off single. So remember, you're like, wait a minute. Why can't I paint all this and I got the little ball? Why can't I paint all these trees down? Remember to take yourself off a single instance mode, because it'll gray it out here. Then once you do this, boom, now it's back into full swing. All right, so let's go ahead and paint that stuff down. All right, and then if we take the lasso tool, we should be able to go back over all of it, because we don't like it here. See, there you go. So that's how the lasso tool works. That's what I thought. And you go in, and as long as you have those instance meshes from your foliage tool painted down that are selected inside your tool, you'll be able to remove those with the lasso, and then you just hit delete, and they're gone. All right. So keep that in mind how that works. Or reference this video and chop out the pieces you need, and you can remove my ramblings. But I like the live tutorials, because if I do that, then there's questions that you guys ask that I never thought of, because I'm so used to doing this. So those things don't come to my mind, because I'm not asking myself, hey, how do I do this again? Unless I'm really stumped. Okay. All right. So hopefully I'm not boring everybody. let's see. Okay, so foliage tool, got it. Um, there's some other things here with the foliage tool, like translucent. I don't play with that, but what you can do is it tells you, places it on translucent geometry. So in other words, invisible geometry. So you can place it. Foliage on top of other foliage. Um, Not recommended, but if it's for a particular spot you need to, you can select it. BSP, that is like, what is that billboard static something? I can't remember what that is. I have to look up the term. Static meshes. So like our rocks down here, these are static meshes. So that's saying, hey, foliage tool, guess what? Go ahead and place all that garbage on top of me. You can do that. Okay. And then landscape, obviously this is the landscape, so it allows you to paint the foliage on top of the landscape. Okay, so that's what those are. Usually you just need these three here, but unless you're getting technical and you want to screw with stuff, then play with it. So BSP is the geometry tool within the editor. Okay, yeah, there you have it. And I don't really mess with it a whole lot. So I like these, what is it? Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Where you can morph shapes and stuff. Okay, so there you have it. Where you can morph the shapes and stuff. Nice. All right, it's always good to have some more knowledge out there. I'd be lying if I said I know everything about map building. I do not, because there are some things I'm still learning today after 3 years of doing this. New stuff pops up. Okay, and then the different engine versions too Epic's released. So let me see, I want to make sure I've covered single instance, the lasso tool, paint bucket I don't mess with. Oh, place in current level. I haven't had to mess with that because it usually places in the level that you're painting in already. However, you can screw up and paint foliage outside the level, but so far I've been pretty lucky not having that issue. Okay. I think that about covers the foliage tool. All right, and we are now at what? Let me see how long we've been streaming for. I want to make sure 1 hour and 16 minutes. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so we got about another hour I can do tutorials on. So what I want to do is kind of cover the foliage, cover some of the sculpting. Let's see here. Let's kind of finish this up. Some of this kind of looks rock slidey, so maybe we'll make this look like a little bit of a rock slide. We might take a mesh here. So remember, when you're swapping from the foliage tool to your static mesh thing, make sure you do that. The little light bulb in the box, that's the best way to remember it. It's like I like to explain it to people, the light bulb in the box. That way they can kind of associate visual cues, because some of this, believe it or not, this can look overwhelming and intimidating. Then when all these little drop downs and you got matinee and cinematics, you shouldn't be playing with that stuff, you know, not unless you're into that part of the development. Your content folder, this is your friend. This little blue folder here is your buddy. All right, this is where you find stuff. Most people, you're going to start out looking like this, but always hit the filter thing. It'll give you the list, so you can actually find things much better. Mostly if you're in the map building and dungeon building, you're going to play with the environmental folder, where it's going to have a lot of your meshes. Oh, and you want to make sure you clear your search here. If you freak out and you panic and you can't find anything, check to see, make sure that you don't have something typed up here, because that will cause you a lot of hell and heartache. So just make sure that's clear unless you're specifically looking for something. Then once you're done finding it, hit the X or clear it. The data table here, you can actually, believe it or not, filter this by different things. You know, blueprints, so it looks just for blueprints, looks just for data tables, etc. So you can also turn that off too. Otherwise, if we hit that, notice that stuff disappears, turn it off, the stuff reappears. It's a way to break things down a little bit better for you so you can search, because believe it or not, once your dev kit becomes overwhelmingly full with different routes and avenues for stuff. So keep that in mind. But for map building, your gold is going to be in the environment meshes, like your buildings, um, your dungeons area, your decals, your kit bashing to um, build different pieces. So you can actually create a whole entire mesh with these bits and bobs and pieces here. But that's a whole nother topic that can be covered on another YouTube video, perhaps. I don't know if I'll do any of that yet. We'll see how popular these tutorials are. I'm trying to make them fun and not too boring, because some tutorials, believe it or not, can put you to sleep, and you'd be like, oh, what? What was I supposed to do? Because the dude or dudette has put you to sleep. Okay. So like I said, I've showed this before. You just drag a mesh, pull it out, boom. Okay. All right. So covering that aspect, let's go ahead and put our content folder off to the side here. So we covered that. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this, Control Copy, Control V, and let's make sure before I do that, let's make sure our level is selected. So we're on the current level. I've told you in the first tutorial. Okay. So let's make sure we got that selected, so we're not pasting it into another level, and then we come in here and our shit's not showing up. I'm gonna have a heart attack, and you're gonna jump off a cliff because your stuff's not working out, and you're wondering why. So we can do something like that if we wanted to, but then see it screws stuff up. So I might have to flip the wig on this. Oops, let's do that, and let's rotate that in 180, bring it up, turn it, and I kind of want to make it look interesting here, and I'm going to put a little bit of an angle on it. And matter of fact, that's part of the kit I think I covered, but we'll double check. Hi there, Blue Jay! Or is it Blue Jay from Conan Modding? It's BJ. BJ or Blue Jay? BJ. BJ. Sorry, BJ. I had to tune in here and look at the chat. Did you see the new assets of the Stygian ruins in the dev kit? They put in accidentally, and we'll remove them with the next update. So maybe you should save them before they update again. Okay, cool. 2J from gaming. All right. Make sure. All right. Okay. Yeah, I seen that. So I actually, believe it or not, they are here, but some of the references was broken. I don't know if they're going to remove them, because they were kind to leave some stuff in from some of the DLCs and the freebies. So I'm hoping they'll leave them, because it wouldn't make sense to create all these new assets and not let guys like myself and those who are upcoming modders and map builders to have access to those. So I don't know if they'll remove them, because I reported there was a materials break in some of them, and I'll show you these. These are beautiful looking assets too, by the way, guys. I would have a heyday with these. Right here, they look great. Let's see. But when you drag them out in the world, the material is currently breaking because the references are broke. So, but looking at them from this perspective, they are gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And these would be great for some of the upcoming modding I'm doing in the jungle right now. So yeah, I could have a lot of fun with these. They are gorgeous. Especially, I love this spire. So I don't know if they're going to remove them. Yeah. Currently, and I just don't see them not allowing modders to have access to this. That would be kind of a mistake, because believe it or not, the modding community is the bread and butter that's kept this game alive. Just like Ark. Ark's communities evolved so big that the more tools they can give the modders and the people to build around, the better. So I don't think these will be removed. I'm 99.9% 99% sure they'll leave these for us, because I did post this to one of the devs. So I actually took a picture of it, screenshot it, said, hey, look, the materials are broken. He says, all right, thanks, I'll let the team know. So hopefully, that'll be taken care of here, and we'll have them. So I don't think these would be removed. However, certain other ones might be removed because of DLC. But it is a $19 DLC to start with, and then it's going to jump up a little higher. So chances are they're probably incorporating that they're going to allow us to have these assets to use just because of the higher cost. So hopefully, and I'm betting we'll have these. But if I wanted to, yeah, I could export all these models and go crazy. But then I'd have to have somebody to build the materials and texture all this shit for me. Because I'm not the texture artist. Okay, so back to tutorial. So just let you know, guys, these are some beautiful assets that are in there to make some really cool stuff. I can't wait. When I get more time. I'm trying to build my own game, do this, modding, and doing tutorials have been requested. Especially Peanut. Peanut kind of motivated me because I've been debating tutorials for a while, but I have a lot of people asking me how to do this. So I'm just going to come out and do it. I did write a PDF that's in the map channel in the Conan Discord that's been pinned for a long time that I guess some people don't see. So I just figured, well, they're not seeing the written walkthrough. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody verbally tell you and actually show you, because some people are more visual learning or visual and hearing, auditory. And me, I'm a big visual learner. So that's how I've learned a lot of stuff throughout the years is visually, and then I have to connect the auditory learning as well. Everybody learns in a different way. And some are hands-on. I'm very big on hands-on learning too. And you might have to show me a couple times, but once I got you, I know what to do. And next thing you know, it'll blow your mind. But that's how some folks work. And then some folks, they can't figure it out to save their life. It's just they don't have the coordination, the brain, and all that stuff to work it all together. Nice. Okay, so I'll have to look into that. Because Rob asked me, when's my map going to be done? When's my map going to be done? It's like, oh God, help me. The thing is, everybody gets these big aspirations to build a giant map, and we're probably going to have to cut this out of the tutorial. So I apologize, people out there who are paying attention to this tutorial. But I'm going to get on my soapbox. You can just fast forward through this area. The big thing is when you think about it, it's great to have this giant world and do all this stuff. But you got to remember, if you're trying to one-man team this, you're going to go through hell, and it's going to take you forever, and your mod will never make it out there. That's what's kept me from building a giant map. Like Hades, he's trying to build his own personal map, but he's kind of dropped it because it is a lot of work. It's intimidating. I mean, look at this, guys. This area here, this is one height map tile I've been working on, and this has been in work for almost a year now. It's a lot of work. Especially if you want it to look good. And I'm about making it look good, and I want players to enjoy it and immerse them. I don't want to just slap a bunch of shit down and say, yeah, I created a giant world map. Congratulations. Now come see my mod and like it and subscribe. And when you go in it, it's nothing but a bunch of trees and maybe 2 random bunny rabbits running around. Oh, yeah, that's awesome, dude. Check this out, this cool map. And when people go in there, there's nothing. You want to give the sensation you're going into an immersive world. You want players to enjoy it and actually use your mod for a reason. Not because, oh, it's so cool, he made this giant world, but there's nothing in it. And then it dawns on them. So keep that in mind. Start small, work your way up. Exactly. Work your way up. I started out with the Ruins of Acheron. That was a big chunk. That was over 2,500 meshes. It was my first dungeon. I got that out. The devs saw that when the game first started, and they did a write-up on it, and that brought me some attention, and folks started zeroing in on Snow Hunter, this guy Snow Hunter. And next thing you know, a lot of my fans out there who really enjoyed my work started pushing to the devs and started talking to the devs, and they started seeing it in the chat a lot. And then that's when I got contracted on for Warmaker and the Wine Cellar. And they looked at them. They actually played through some of my dungeons to make sure. And then when they interviewed me, I worked with, the team. It was great, you know. And here is, guys, I can tell you, I was a United States Marine for 17 years, had no experience whatsoever in this type of work. And if you look at how development works and you just get a pair, you suck it up, you get the discipline, you can learn this too. Okay? But it takes time. And if you have a natural talent, it will help you. But if you don't, you're going to have to learn to develop that talent. And through baby steps, like Peanut said, baby steps is going to help enhance you. And if you look at other modders and how they did things, look at how they did it. Look at how I did mine. You know, look at how I do things. And I looked at how devs do things. And you learn from each other, and that's how you develop your skill set. And you get better and better at it. And to wow people with like the Riverboats mod, that was just jumping off and going for it. So you got to just take your time, learn the ropes, just dig down, read, watch YouTube videos, chat with other modders, and you'll begin to learn something. And if there's a part that you don't understand, don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if there's a modder who will actually help you. I like to help everybody. Some modders they got an ego. They, don't bother me, I'm busy. Some people aren't like that. Some are not personable who will come out and help you. I like to help folks because they've helped me. They've made me who I am right now in the modding community. My fans have. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here on YouTube, on Twitch, doing this stuff right now, and then getting hired as a contractor for Funcom. That's a big step. I never imagined that. When I got a little email, a little question in Discord, and I got that phone call, my whole world lit up. Like, wow, this is awesome. So it could happen to one of you guys out there. You never know. Look at Kia on Fire. She got called up for the beta test. So, they're taking individuals from the community who are passionate about their game, who haven't bashed them, who want to help make their game awesome. That's how you got to be within this community. You just got to help each other out, and the more you help each other out, the better the community is. The better the mods become. Me personally, I'm trying to make it so my mods give the community something to enjoy, play, especially RP. I'm not an RPer myself, but the RP community snatched up Riverboats, and they just love the hell out of it because it just gives another part of immersion and fills a little bit of the desert. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this mod is bring players back through the desert and into another area and kind of create a little bit of another story in a sense. So keep that in mind. Slow baby steps. You'll start getting to this point where you can build areas like this and just beautify them. I mean, study, look how techniques are done. A lot of this is mimicking what the developers have done and learning how the artists do things. And you might not know all the technical aspects, but you begin to build on those. There's, you got to learn depth and visual cues and things for your eyes that look pleasant, but bring your focus in, to focus correctly, stuff like that. You just want to, pay attention and you'll succeed. Okay, I think I'm stepping off the soapbox now. But yeah. So let's see. We covered Fuller's tool. I'm going to try to think of anything else I might be missing. So if there's somebody out there watching right now, is there something about foliage that you want to know, sculpting you want to know? You know, ask me now. While I'm trying to regain my thought process on this tutorial, what we were doing. So we were covering foliage. Let's see here. Or weird stuff like this where we got a rock hanging off on this. So I'll have to do some fixing here. And this one's kind of floating a little bit high. So I might have to sink this in the terrain or pull it forward, whatever. Or put some rocks around it to kind of break it up. Yep, yep, it's the way to do it, man. Is look at different things, run around, and explore. So let's go ahead and do this. Go back to our modes tool. Let's see. I want to make sure where our time is. So I got about 30 minutes for this stream if I want to keep this tutorial a little shorter. But I might go a little longer just because I was on my soapbox. Okay, so getting back into this. Let's see here. Let's fix this area here. So we're going to take our sculpt tool. So let's go ahead and get into sculpting again. So our mountain, remember that. We'll take our mountain and we're going to go to our flattening tool here. And we'll start kind of flattening this out a little bit. Let's see here. Did you cover how to do lighting, placing resources, or not spawns? Not yet. I'll do that in another tutorial. Because I think what I want to do is I don't want to overwhelm, because if I start mixing certain things, then I might confuse some of the folks out there. So I kind of want to touch each section. So that's why I did a lot of foliage today. So it's going to be foliage and sculpting work. I got talked into a little bit of the dungeon building, so that helped show how to place placeables. NPCs, not yet. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun one. That's going to be more in depth. And that one actually is going to be probably the hardest one out of, believe it or not, all of this is the NPCs and how that system's set up. So that's going to take a little bit more concentration, especially on my part too, because I have to really wrap my brain around the steps to make sure, okay, I'm telling you guys the correct steps, because I don't want to put out too much disinformation or confuse the information, because even me sometimes when I haven't put NPCs down for a while, I tend to forget, like, oh wait a minute, did I edit the data table? Did I do the weighted spawn table? So it's going to be a lot of data table work, and we will start probably with just the vanilla NPCs, and then we might do a tutorial on a custom NPC where we can modify hit points and stuff. But don't ask me to model a new one or attach it to a skeleton, because that is beyond my skill set. I am not a animator or somebody who can rig those type of things. So every modder has a skill set that is beneficial, and by being respectful to one another and helpful to one another, believe it or not, your mods can be stellar. And always give credit to those other modders out there, like Hades. Easy. He's helped me with the riverboats. He did all the blue script coding to get those boats flowing across the server, so we could have people ride around and not fall through the world. So it was great. All right, single instance here. Let's move that, and we can kind of sculpt around it. So now, if you noticed, while I'm sculpting, and we're going to flatten, you can see that the foliage moves with my sculpt tool. So that's why you kind of try to want to sculpt first and make sure you got your area set where you want it. But like I said, you can go back through and sculpt with foliage down, but just be ready and expect it to move when you start sculpting. Okay, so if you have to fix an area, be prepared, or if you want to delete it and redo it, you can. But it's all up to you and how you want to do your technique. I've developed my techniques, in my way. You can develop yours, but I'm trying to give you the basics to start with, so it doesn't overwhelm you and kill you. And you're like, well, Snow Hunter, you didn't say not to sculpt with all the foliage on the ground first. Oh my God. So that's why, sculpt, build your terrain first, then start placing your foliage. And then when you get better, and you've had more time and experience, then you can learn how to manipulate this stuff, see, without creating, hell for yourself, and you got rocks and trees smashed in. So you just learn to work with the flow, move things, stuff like that. Or, hey, just delete them. You can always paint them back. It's not going to hurt anything. But you don't want to sit there and have to sculpt the entire area, then delete everything and redo it unless that's what you want to do. So, okay. So we'll just kind of go through here and work this a little bit. Kind of make this cliff edge. And, I make it look easy, but it's, like I said, it's all about starting out small, working your way up to bigger, learning to grasp the coordination with your brain, your eye, to get the looks. And if you want good detail, take your time. I mean, anybody can slap down some terrain and call it good and throw some trees on and say, yep, it's a mod. I mean, anybody can do that in this, but to make it look good and natural, you want to put some art behind it. So keep that in mind too when you're modding, especially if you want to really wow the community and you want them to use your mod. I mean, modders don't do this just because, hey, I'm going to develop a mod and we're just going to throw trees down and people are going to like my trees. Yeah, they're going to like your trees for after about 10-20 minutes, and that's about it. But if you want them to use it and get good use out of it, and you really want to get into development, then you better put some heart and soul into it too. So if you want to cut a rock and put a tunnel or pipe running through it, is it possible to cut a rock? So like say you want to put it through one of these. Is that what you're saying, Peanut? What you would have to do is have somebody 3D model and cut it. So you'd have to export this model or this FBX, export it, have somebody in Blender or a 3D program cut it for you, then reattach the material so it has a hole through it. That's a little bit more work, and that's 3D modeling work. But if you're talking about just cutting a hole in the terrain, that would be in the first video that we covered. So where you can do that. But it is possible. I mean, if you have somebody who has got a 3D program who wants to take this and export it, and that's really simple. So we can go ahead and cover that real quick here. So if you go to your modes panel, we go to our light box button, and if you can see this model here, we have it selected. Right click, and then what you can do is you can go ahead and find this in the content browser. So we're going to pull up in our content browser. There's our rock, and then what we do is right click, and what we're going to do is go asset actions, and you're going to export this, and what it'll do is it'll export it to a folder on your desktop. So wherever you want to place it in the folder you want to edit, it's going to pump it out with its name and the model. Okay, and then what you'll do is you'll have somebody go in, chop the hole, they give it back to you as an FBX or an OBJ, which are the different models, and I think there's another one that Unreal reads. And then what you do is you're going to right click on it and you're going to go back to re-import, and you can re-import that name, that model. However, you're going to do it in your actual mod folder because you're going to make a copy of this first. Alright, so we don't want to directly take it from the dev kits main directory. What we want to do is actually copy that rock over to our mod folder. So we'd actually take this, drag it over. Let's find our mod folder. Oops, actually let me extend it. So there's Lore of the Lost Exiles. That's the name of the mod. And what we do is we're going to want to copy it in here. So go back to our meshes. There's our rock. We're going to drag it over. And we're going to say copy here. Not move here. Copy here. And it's going to copy that over. We go to our folder. Look down. We're going to find our rock. There's our rock we just copied. It's going to have a little white asterisk. And what that little white asterisk is telling us is it needs to be saved. So you can either hit save all or just open it up, and we'll look at the mesh. There it is, and we hit save. Okay, so now we saved it. It's in our mod folder. This is also a spot too. I'll cover this real quick since we're here. You got your collision button, and by hitting the collision button up here at your top bar, and it's got all these other little things too. So if you're into a lot of texture work, tangents, binormals, and you're a 3D modeler, a lot of this stuff will apply to you. Before, if you're trying to just build maps and you're a landscaper and you're trying to do world building, we're really not going to cover a whole lot of that there. We're concentrating on just the art. We're concentrating on, you know, the dungeons and all that fun stuff. But collisions are going to be important to you as a level builder because you don't want your characters to get snagged up or fall through models. And so what this does is the collision viewer, you can see all the little purple lines. Those are designs where the player, when they're climbing up, that's the surfaces you're climbing on. Okay, and these also can get you stuck too. So if these were shown out the side, like basic collisions, this is a very complex collision. So you notice a little triangulation throughout the model. They're complex. Now, a basic collision can be just a box around this rock, okay, which you don't want. So this is the complex. And how you find a lot of that stuff too is if you go to the right-hand side, you're going to have a tab here. It's going to have details. And you scroll down to collisions, and you're going to see here a section here that's got all your different spheres, boxes, capsules, convex, and then you're going to also find collision complexity. And it says use complex collision as simple. Okay, so what that means, this is a very complex collision because this is a rock that players would climb. So you want it to be very detailed for the collision. And like I said before, what you could do is, I'm going to go ahead and hit a collision here. I'm going to say I'm going to add a box simplified collision. So if you notice, this green box appeared. So if our players were to walk up to this rock right now, we would hit this square face, we'd hit this square face, we'd hit the top face from the top. So anything in here, we can't get close to it either. It's going to block us away from the surface of that rock. So that green line is another collision. Okay, so you wouldn't even be able to climb this rock physically on its actual surface. We'd be climbing this green invisible box on the outside. So we'd climb an outside invisible top and bottom. Okay, so that's a simple collision. All right, so we want complex for, especially for important surfaces like the players climbing for Conan. Okay, and this is a way that you know that, like, if you were to put two of these rocks with this simplified collision, you could actually create a blocking wall, even though you have a gap between the two rocks here. If we were to place another one, it'd be blocked by this nice big green box. Okay, so that's the collisions. So you notice how it's adapted itself now to the collision. So yeah, you wouldn't even be able to make it to the complex collision within inside the simple collision. I'm not going to save that because we don't want to do that. So I'm not even going to save this model now. We're just going to leave it because we don't want to mess with that. But that's how you export the model, bring the model back in to the dev kit to do all that funky magical stuff that you do. So you're aware of that. So the question with putting a pipe through the rock, it can be done, but you're going to need a 3D modeler to do it. Okay, so hopefully that covered it. Hope everybody learned something from that. All right, moving on. We were busy manipulating this terrain, and I didn't like this here. So we'll go ahead and continue to sculpt on. So that was great. See, that's a question that, you know, I'm not thinking about, which would have been covered in a different topic, but however, or different time. But it's a good one as we're working. So thanks for the question. I really appreciate that. Gave me something to talk about. Raise his hand, confirmed. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this, our content window. Let's get back to our work here. So we'll go back to our modes here. So just remember that this is your friend here. This modes panel is going to be your friend, but also if you've used Unreal 425, this is going to change how to access this panel. I really don't like what Epic did. I don't know who internally decided, hey, let's take all these beautiful buttons that make a lot of sense that people have gotten so used to for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and let's go ahead and let's make this bar up here thicker, and then let's make these all little white buttons and make them where they don't make sense, and then let's make them so where they have to go down through a list to find these individual buttons, said buttons, and click on those to open up the panel they need. And oh, by the way, when they double click on the button currently right now, it's going to crash the engine. So be thankful and be happy that we got some older version of Unreal. So anything 425 and higher right now is kind of weird and strange right now. So be prepared if you decide to jump to 425 later on in life, because I've been learning that and I don't like it. So I rolled back to version 424 for my own game that I'm currently creating. I like 424 with this old style of palette, and plus some of the guys that are working on the game with me, they started getting confused with 425 because they couldn't find these buttons. So yeah, just this little tidbit and thing to give you a heads up. So if you decide to delve with Unreal on the side, you're going to find that all this here has changed. So yeah, I'm not impressed with that change. Actually, I should write a letter and complain, tell them to pound sand and get angry and yell and scream up and down, etc., etc. Okay, so like I said, this is your friend, because this is also, and we'll kind of dive into this a little bit here. So we're sculpting, we're painting, we've covered some of that stuff, and I like to reiterate these areas so it kind of puts it into the player's mind, especially if you're building dungeons and landscape. This is very important. You're going to see this a lot. You're going to use this a lot, so you got to get used to popping these buttons, going here, swapping tools, changing, placing, etc. This is a big point inside the engine, all right, for the dev kit when you're landscape building. If you're into 3D modeling, blueprinting, that's a whole nother portion. Don't ask me. I'm really not going to be able to do that for you. I only know some basics. Okay, so we want to place, say, a light. And to do that, you got a point light right here. Okay, in your modes panel, which is, you got your lights, cinematics, visual effects, geometry, volumes, all classes. The volumes here cover physics volumes, trigger volumes, post-processing volumes, nav mesh volumes, and that will be covered in NPCs and stuff like that. Okay. There are tutorials. There's I think his name's Matthew Wadstein on YouTube. He goes in through great lengths and depths of explaining some of these different individual components, and he's kind of quick and fast, but he's really good at what he does. He's done some actual education lessons for Unreal and Epic, and he covers these pretty good into a T. And once you understand the concept of how these things work, it starts flowing naturally. Okay. Water covering landscape. No, I haven't got into the water yet, and that's a fun one. I think we covered a little bit in the tutorial on not what to touch when we're doing water, but we can go ahead and kind of cover some water. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll kind of back away from this for a minute, and let's head to water. So as you can see, we have water. All right, and I'm going to go down here because this is where it'll make more sense, and it's going to show you how complex water can be to set up. Let's see. All right, so I just got a message, and now I gotta dazzle them with new maps. All right. See, the Funcom dev team is already asking me to dazzle them with maps. Okay, so what you want to do here is, if you notice, I got a giant mesh of water, a static mesh of water. Okay, and it's just what they call a plane. So in here you have a plane in some of your different geometries. Okay, which would be probably, I'm trying to remember if it's here or we got to type for it and find it. So if we hit here and hit plane, nope, it's going to be in your basic, your basic shape. So it's a plane. So it's a static mesh plane, it's flat. And it's got a water material assigned to it, so it gives us that nice, beautiful, wavy flowing of water. And there is one in the dev kit, so if we right click on it, because we got it selected now, so let me cover that to you real quick. So make sure you actually got your water plane selected. And the reason why I got so large and it's kind of covering under the desert here is I wanted to cover the riverbanks to make sure it's all, it covers each little groove, or if I decided to spread water somewhere else, I have enough of that plane. However, if I was to cut a hole in the terrain, we're going to run into that water plane right here. So you notice it spreads out here. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're playing with water planes. I don't have a fancy tool. I haven't played with it modeling and cutting it to where a good example would be the river in the game. They actually have those static meshes cut to flow with the small rivers. All right, so water. Static plane with a water material plugged in it to give you the wavy effect. All right, and then below that, and we'll kind of get in here and kind of show it if I can find it and give you a visual representation. Let's see, let's do it with the cave. It's a little bit easier because they're all kind of up high and they're right here in front of me. So if you notice, we have some little purple lines drawn across here. This waterfall is a static mesh with animated material that looks like water's flowing. We also have particle effects. These are what gives you the foggy, smoky effect of the water crashing. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's a particle effect to make it look like that's water rushing over the waterfall and crashing into the water below. Okay. Let's see, I'm trying to find it. So this is the better angle because I can see all these boxes. So you notice all these boxes here, these lines. There's a physics volume here. There's a post-processing volume for lighting to give you the effect that you're underwater. And those all work with the static water plane right here, the smaller plane, which I got a little smaller plane of water here. And it only extends to that point inside the cave, and then what we do is we carefully blend it in to make it look like it's flowing out. Otherwise, if we didn't have this waterfall here, we'd have a puddle of water up here that's somehow creeping out of this cave. So yeah, water. It's fun, but it also could be a headache. Now what I do, and to make it simplified and to help other modders out, I use what the devs have already currently set up. It helps tremendously. One, it saves on time because of the lighting and stuff like that, and post-process volumes. And you're going to use a lot of the same light settings that they do unless you're really trying to go for a different look. Which you can. I mean, you can go off. I try to build around vanilla for the theme and keep people engaged and enjoy the actual mod. So we have the water, and I know there's a better example, so let me open up, because this is a little complex. This is a little bit bigger on here, and I want to show you a smaller version of water to start with. I think it's on 4.1. Let's see, Art Caves. Yeah, so post-processing volumes, physics volumes, and the static mesh together work together to create water. And yeah, here we go. Here's a better one. So this is Hanuman's Cave, or I think that's how you say it, Hanuman's Cave, which is the cave with the gorilla statue. Okay, so we got the plane of water, so the static mesh, and they got 4 of them connected here, and they're grouped together. So that's by the yellow outline. Okay, and then if we dive down here, you also can see our lines, and we'll go ahead and we can click on it individually like this, which is a little bit difficult, or we can take the time, we go to the window, we go to our world outliner, and we're going to bring up our world outliner window. And what we're also going to do is we're going to go down View Options, and we're going to say only in current selected level. So now what we should see is only the Dungeon Imp Cave. And I covered this in the first video, how you organize your assets. And they also got the folder called Water. So the Water Nav Mesh volume is designed, and I'll have to look that one up, but it's a nav mesh for this volume. Okay, and I think it's for something for stuff to swim in. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. It works like the nav mesh bounds volume for NPCs when they're traveling and walking around in outer space out here. Because NPCs have the ability to walk on surfaces, but when you get off the terrain and there's no actual landscape and you're under the world, there's a special box called the nav mesh bounds volume we'll get into in NPC creation that allows them to walk out there. Okay, so there's a special way to allow them to walk too. Alright, so looking at that, we have our nav mesh bounds volume. We also have the particle effects, so our drip ripples. So these are particle effects with a sound effect, and it looks like it's actually rippling on the water surface. So they're spread throughout the cave. Okay. A lot of these are grouped together, so we have some grouped actors. So all this stuff is grouped together. We also have the post-processing volume, which I got to see if we can find it here. So water cave. Now the post-processing volume is highlighted in yellow now. And what that does, it gives us this blurry underwater feel. Okay. And like I said, I'd like to cover this in a different tutorial, but I'll kind of skim over it here. And then for our physics volume, let's see if we can find our physics volume. Let's see, it's usually a P. There it is. Water Physics Cave. And so that's the physics volume. So when your character actually touches the water and starts swimming, this is the volume that tells the player character that, hey, when you hit this volume, you're supposed to swim. So when you come to the point of jumping in here, boom, all of a sudden the engine knows that, hey, you're inside a water volume, and then it starts playing all the animations and everything as you're swimming. Okay, so you're going to need a physics, a post-process, a static water mesh, to make it look like water. Okay, so it's very layered, it's a little interconnected. And like I said, how I do it is, since the developers have already created it, it's a lot easier just to copy the work that they've done and use it and paste it down to your advantage for time saving, especially if it's something that it's going to cover the area you need. I recommend using Hanuman's Cavern as a good example to start a small area and work with. Don't try to jump off and do this here when you're first starting out, because you're gonna run into things like you're gonna forget to do certain things, you're gonna forget to put down your NPCs, you're gonna have a lot of work that's gonna overwhelm you, especially if you're doing this by yourself. So start small, work your way up, and when you get comfortable with the dev kit, then by all means take a big chunk and jump into it. So that's a little bit of basics on water. Okay, so like I said, I'll go in depth with that probably on a different video and show you how all that stuff works, and kind of put it together. Let's see here. Go back to our levels, make sure we get the correct level. So we want to unload that because we don't want that, and that's not our current level. We want to make 60 as our current, as I covered in the first tutorial. Alright, so going back to this. Alright, and then that was our tutorial dungeon, which is okay, we'll leave that open. Alright, so. Alright, have I bored anybody? Are we still good? Is everybody hanging in there with me? Alright, minimize our level window. We can hide our world outliner. Okay. Alright, so let's see. Back to work with foliage. Sculpting. I know we covered the hole cutting and all that stuff. I'm trying to think of anything else I might be missing. Modes. And let's see here. We'll use the flatten tool, and we're going to just bring this over. So we're just going to bring that over and kind of fill that in, because I really don't want that pit there. We kind of want to make this layered, because this is going to be like eventually a rock quarry. Okay. All right, good. And if those of you out there who want to support me on my Patreon, you can hit the link below the videos here and hop on my Patreon and support me. And I appreciate those out there in chat right now who have jumped on my Patreon. I appreciate it for the little bits of money and funding that you provide to me. Helps keep my server running, allows me to buy some Unreal assets, all that fun jazz. And thanks for paying for my time. I really appreciate it, because it helps out a lot, and it allows me to continue to make content like this to help folks out there who really want to get into this type of stuff and be creative, because it is fun when you get to build your own world. And because I do work a part-time job, sadly enough, I do work that. But if I could do this full-time, I would, because I enjoy it. It's less stressful, and actually being from the military side of the house and going through all the hell that I've gone through, I find that as a veteran, this is probably one of the most relaxing things you can do for your PTSD, and enjoy, and just be creative. I've gone from a world of seeing destruction and all that stuff to where I can actually create a world, and it takes my mind off of those things too. It helps out a lot. So always keep that in mind too. This can be therapeutic, which it is kind of for me. I do find that it's helped me a lot in the last several years to get my mind focused on other things. So always keep that in mind. Question: is it possible to patch a visibility hole in the map that has been cut if it's unrelated to this? No, that's fine. When I first started out, I cut a hole and didn't realize how to put it close it back up, and technically I believe once you cut the hole, you're supposed to be able to paint back over it to fill the hole. So let's go try that, because I never did take a look to see whether that's the way you fix the hole, but I believe it is that you paint over it, and I'm 100%, well, 99.9% sure that's what it is. So let's just open up map 07, and it'll be our test map to blow up. Yeah, and if you're starting out too, I recommend map 07, I think it is. Yeah, map 07. It's a safe one to mess around with, or 70, sorry. It's a desert piece. This is 60 over here. This is 70. And let's just go in here, and we're going to hit the sculpt tool. And what Peanut's asking is, we're going to go in here, and we're going to try to cut a hole. So if you hit the visibility tool, which is an eyeball in your mountain, and you can barely see my paintbrush, but I'm going to get closer. Hey, Azatari, how you doing? So let's go ahead and cut this hole. So we're going to punch a hole here, and boom, we have a hole. Now, let's see if we can actually fix that hole by painting back over it. I don't think you can. It's not painting back. Unless you have to paint the sandy stuff, which I think it's the sand to fix the hole. Yeah, I think you have to paint the material you cut the hole out of, I think. I don't know. Let me see. Come on, switch. Switch. Sorry, desert sand dune? No, I don't know. It's not working. So, yeah, so if you cut a hole, chances are you better make sure it's where you want it. Yeah, because it's not working like it's supposed to. And I thought it's supposed to paint back and close the hole. Let's see. Let's go back to our visibility tool real quick. I know you're supposed to be able to fix it. I'm trying to think. And I don't see how you can fix it. Nope, we're just cutting holes. So the only way to do it, hit Control Z and undo your hole cut. So just Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Let's see, we got to undo all this paint and stuff I just did too to try to fix the hole. But yeah, so I believe in the other versions of Unreal you can just paint back over. It's supposed to fill it. I don't know why it's not doing it here for us. So for hole cutting, make sure you put the hole where you want it and you're not going to move it. All right. So keep that in mind. So with the visibility tool, be wary. Okay, just be wary. Once you put that hole in there, chances are you're not going to be able to correct it unless you put a giant rock in to block it. Is it right click it? Yeah, okay, you might be right. So it might be that. So let's try it. Here we go. All right, waffle butter might have fixed our problem. Let's see. So if we, now, do we right click with the whole visibility set or do we do it when we're painting? So let's go back to paint. Is it paint and right click? I don't know. You meant left shift click. Oh, thank you. Okay, let's go back to our hole cut, and then it's probably left shift. Okay, you might be right. Yep. Thank you. I knew there was a way. I just couldn't get it out of my ass. I couldn't pull it out magically. Thanks. I appreciate that. It helps. See? Another modder out there helped me remember the tools. All right, so yeah, that's all you do to fix your hole. Whew. All right. Okay. See? Save me at the last minute. Embarrass myself and give out wrongful information. Everybody's going to be like, Snowhunter lied. He broke my immersion. He said you can't fix the hole, but Waffle Butter found a fix. Heh, Waffle Butter knows more than Snowhunter. Like I said, the dev kit is overwhelming. There's a lot to remember. Okay. So keep that in mind. There's a lot to learn. And I learn, like I said, I learn all the time when I open up this kit or when the devs bring a new update. You know, keep that in mind. All right, so moving back along. So yes, Peanut, does that answer your question? So it's shift left click, and also, since we kind of covered vertice paint, let's do that too. Let's use this map over here. So vertice paint, I'm not super big into it. I don't create vertice materials. Oops. And what we're gonna do, yes, Waffle Butter, thank you for saving my tutorial, not making me look like a dumb shit. I appreciate that. Okay, so because I know there's a way to fix the hole. I just can't remember pulling on my ass on time. So Waffle Butter, thank you. All right. Shout out to Waffle Butter. All right. Let's see. Meshes. So these are good. So Stygia House. Actually, let's go to environments. Let's go to the base game vanillas. Not use my custom models. They do paint, but I just want to use the actual vanilla model so you can actually see it work. So let's find our Stygia houses. Yep, and I'm going to get sick going down this list too. All right, and it looks like a jackpot gambling machine. All right, so we pull out our Stygia house. And to get this cool look on the houses, and let's slow our camera down, holy shit. Okay, so go in here, you're going to take your tool, and let's move into a position where we can see. And you notice this texture, how it's kind of rolling, doing some weird effects. That's kind of the neat thing. It helps to keep it so like the texture's not the same all the way across. See how it's changing position a little bit, doing some funky cool stuff. All right, so we know that this has got vertice paint on it. Okay. you cut a hole and you shouldn't have. I love it, Peanut. That's awesome. That's funny. Awesome. Well, now you got it. Now you got to fix. So you just hit Shift with the sculpt tool and left click, and you can paint down and fill the hole back up. All right. Okay, so vertice paint. Now this is that paintbrush I told you that we don't use for landscape. However, you use it for meshes. So if we click it, now you see all this funky cool stuff. And there's some neat stuff here with green, alphas, reds, and all that stuff. That's all texture stuff. Don't ask me about all that stuff because I'm not a texture artist. But I know there's magic behind all these different channels of coloring. It's like super magical, cool stuff. And what you do is now you click this little paintbrush. You come out here. Notice how we get these little sparkles and we get this little green thing. It's a paintbrush. So my radius is super huge. So what you can do is called the radius, which I don't know why we don't call it the paintbrush size, but it's the radius of the vertice brush. So now see how it's smaller? So we're going to increase it. You can also increase the strength. But what you do is if I just hold down left click and I'm on this face of the model, I start doing this. Notice how it's painting in the blocks. Now we're making a solid mud house. It's a solid mud house, which looks terrible. So the neat thing about vertice paint is it helps take large models and kind of breaks up the walls to make them look aged or mossy. You know, because you imagine going to a town that looks like brand new with brand new mud. It's like, that's not realistic. Come on, man. We want this thing to look like it's ancient. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold down left shift, which is that left shift is kind of helpful in it, and left click. And what you're going to do is then you're going to drag it, and it's going to now break up our mud. But also notice how we're getting that white scatter paint too. So now we got a little bit of that muddy white stuff in there as well. So that's the other part of the texture. So what you got to do is just get used to figuring out how to use the brush, the different strengths, and to undo it, you just go back through and just left click normal without the shift, and you can fill it in to where you want to look like. And then hold down shift again, hold it down heavy, you know, and it starts appearing. I mean, we can clean this sucker up. I mean, we could really, we're supposed to be able to just go and paint all this away, okay? Which you can technically, but I ain't going to get into that too much here. But that's what vertice paint is. So that's what I've been talking about when I say vertice paint. That's vertice paint. And it's already adapted on the material. Okay? And if you don't like your work, don't save it. You know, and walk away. Or just go, delete that model. We don't want to see that mess that I just made. Okay? So yeah, it's like a plaster over Adobe brick is basically what it is. Yeah. So you can do that. I don't know if these I imported from Epic Games, which was their vehicle racing game. I don't know if these have vertice paint. Let's take a look. So, and I don't want to really screw up anything, but let's try it. Let's see. Nope, these don't look like they have vertice paint. Not these ones, but I think the houses did. These here. I think these had some vertice paint on them. Let's see. No, don't look like it. I thought something from this kit did, but I could be wrong. But yeah. So, yeah, that's what vertice paint is. It's kind of cool, so it helps out. These didn't have it, but they kind of naturally kind of put it in with how they set the material up. So it works. It fits our little world here that we're creating. Okay. All right. So we'll speed up our camera and go back here to sculpting and painting again. So hopefully that covered some areas that you've learned as far as map building is concerned. Okay. Let's see, what else can I cover while we're sculpting and painting here? Eventually I get this mod out. I'm hoping I'm not too late because the island Asipta has now made the Exiles desert obsolete. No. Actually, I think a lot of people are still going to probably play the base map. But some people are going to go to the new map, obviously, for obvious good reasons. It's going to create a new, fresh playing. For a lot of people, it's going to be, fresh on the eyes. It doesn't look deserty. Me personally, I kind of like the desert theme a little bit. But I'm trying to bring the desert more life. I thought the desert was too deserty, and I wanted to bring some interesting looks to the desert. And it's kind of fun to work with, and it's one of the easier ones to start with. So if you are starting out map modding, start with the desert because it's easier to do when you start getting into highlands and some of the greens and the grays. You really have to get your eyes trained in on that one. Immerse a Siptah desert with conifers. Yeah, we could. I mean, we could paint it down in here. You know, we could do some stuff. Yeah, let's make it work. All right, so we're gonna just flatten this out here to make it blend with our rock. We don't want too many rolly spots like that. We kind of want to make it flat. Let me bring my brush size down. You know, but like I was saying, when it comes to map building, it's funny. I got a message from Joel saying, "Can't wait to see what you build in maps. Bring it on!" It's like, holy crap! I can't do this myself. I need a team. The hard thing is getting a bunch of modders and wrangling them. It's like herding cats. Um, Everybody wants to build their own mod, and they have their own idea. And trying to get other modders to work with other modders, it's like pulling teeth, baby, pulling teeth. Because some of them, they just don't want to mesh. They don't want to mingle. I got my mod, and it's beautiful. And some are. Some got some cool mods, but some of it's ego. Some of it's, I just want to work on my mod. I don't want to work on your project because your project's a nightmare. I don't see your vision, or your mod's going to require too much work. And map building requires a lot of work. So, yeah. That's why I really haven't done a full map. It's just a lot of work. And I don't want to just slap, like I said, slap a bunch of shit down and say, hey, check out my new map mod. And it's got a bunch of trees on it, and NPCs aren't spawning in good places. Optimization's terrible. Because some people have done that. They just throw some shit down and say, it's a new map world. Enjoy. Download my mod so I can get tons of Steam likes. And then people realize that's just a bunch of trees. And that's not cool. We don't want a bunch of that. Let's see here. But if I could get a bunch of modders together to build a world, let me tell you, we could build one hell of a world if we could just get the right people together, the right modders together, and get a theme going. We could create an awesome map mod. And that's the thing. It just requires somebody taking the lead, and the other ones being followers, and the followers being happy with the lead, and actually putting forth work. You can come up with something spectacular. I've had these side conversations with other modders, and that's the thing, is it's getting other modders to work with other modders. That's the problem. And sadly, some of them don't realize that. Steam's really cool because it gives you the ability to say, hey, add this person to this map creation or this creation of the mod. It's like you're all getting credit. You're all going to be noticed for your work. So, all right, we're sculpting. Moving along here. Because we want to break this up. We don't want to look like it's just a flat edge. We don't want a whole lot of flat edges because that doesn't look natural in the real world. Unless you're in like some sort of sedimentary rock layer area, then by all means, we can do that. All right, clean up those edges, give us some more roly-poly. Okay, in some places it makes sense to be a little flat, in other places it's not. So it's just about catching it with your eye. All right, so we got that there. We got this. We got this bit of rocky terrain here. Let's see. It's kind of using the sculpt tool, bringing up the terrain a bit. Because this is going to go into our kind of our rock quarry area. Let's see. We got our rocks kind of sideways. Nice. It's kind of jamming. Oh, let's fix this here. I remember this. I had this massive roly-poly muffin top. That I was telling you not to do. Don't do the muffin top. No muffin tops allowed over here next to these rocks. It's terrible. No muffin topping. Alright, so yeah, so remember, don't do any muffin top stuff like this. It just doesn't look right. Unless your lore calls for a muffin top. Which I don't know why anybody's lore would ask for that, but hey, I guess what floats your boat, right? Oh, we gotta fix our bush in the tree here too. I completely forgot all about that, getting distracted. Alright, so, alright chat, you've all quieted on me. You're all thinking deep. It's like deep. Alright, let's go ahead and bring this up here. I didn't like this along here, so let's get that kind of raised. Oops, too high. Don't hate on the muffin top. Oh, no, no, no. No hating on the muffin. There's no hate. There's no hate. We just can't have muffin top terrain. That's all. I don't know what you were thinking about muffin tops. Shame on you thinking like that, Peanut. Muffin tops. Hating on muffin tops. Alright. So, let's see. We kind of got that. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of smooth. And let's get that kind of smoothed out a little bit. Little erosion thing going on. And then notice how our path is kind of sideways here, so we don't want that our path to be up on the edge here because that doesn't make any sense. So let's kind of wind that down. So let's go ahead and paint that with a little bit of dry dirt. There we go. Let's throw that in there. I'm just going to throw a little bit of dry dirt along here, kind of break it up. Let's do this. We'll do a little dry dirt work here. Yeah, just doing it light. You know, like I said, I'm getting you some artistic lessons here as well. Okay, you're still here, Waffle? That's great. All right. Awesome. Yeah, it kind of gets lonely in stream sometimes, you know, when people aren't talking to you. You're like, oh shit, what do I talk about? So I try to make things up sometimes. Yep. Like Peanut, we can't fix that hole. Nope, sorry, buddy. Not fixable. Nope. Shit, you're asking me a question I can't figure out right now because my brain's fried. And then see, then the lull times 2D is doing some work on the side quietly, lurking in the shadows. Okay. So yeah, we got this working. It's looking pretty good. And then let's cover this in with some dry cracked dirt here. Kind of fill this in like so. Kind of blend it in. And see, it's naturally painting some shrubbery down, which is great, or some dead dry foliage, so we don't have to paint it down with the tool. So that's kind of nice that it's already plugged in for us, which is great. But we don't want to use a lot of it. But yeah, that's looking much better. You're working on new armor? Nice. So let's do a conifer armor. Can we do a conifer armor with spruce branches hanging off of it? I think that'd be kind of cool. See, that would be a mod, and then you'd promote your mod as the tree mod. Tree armor, plus 10 sap for your house building. They did? Oh god, yeah. See, and then a lot of people see, and it's like, oh, really, tree armor? Was it made of bark? No, D&D we had bark spells where you could actually cast, skin of bark. That makes sense, but wooden tree armor, I don't know if I want to be caught dead in that, especially in a tar fight with flaming bolts of fire. You might end up catching your armor on fire. That would kind of suck. That would suck. Well, this is going to be a long tutorial, so this will be good, I guess. The long tutorial is Snow Hunter talking and lying about filling up holes. I wasn't lying. I just couldn't remember. But waffle butter saved me. Waffle butter to the rescue. Okay, so looking good so far. It's amazing too when you think about it. When you take the time to make your terrain look great, your players don't think about it anymore because it looks natural, and that's where your brain allows for the natural to take place. But like if we were to put like, oh, let's see here. Let me just go find an example. I love this because this is one of my great examples. So let's find. Let's do. Let's see this rock. Yeah, let's take this rock. We'll just copy it for fun, and then let's go Windows Details. And let's bring up our detail panel. Come on, Windows Details panel. Give me my details panel. All right. So let's just swap out the material on it. Okay. So we're going to swap it with this rock. Okay. So now I've seen some maps like this, and I'm not trying to bag on anybody, but if you really want to create a cool mod, let's not do things like that. Okay. Does that look like it clashes? does that look like it fits? See, it's just a good example to show you what not to do. Because you're coming along here, then all of a sudden, wait a minute, what the hell? Everything else looks the same, but what? What the hell? It's out of place. So that's where you got to make sure don't do things that causes your players like, yeah, this is great. Oh yeah, I'm loving this, and their brain's not thinking about it, then all of a sudden this is not the type of epic look you want your player to concentrate on. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so don't mix and match stuff that doesn't flow right. See, like if we go up here and we pretend we're playing, right? You're in, you're feeling immersive, and you get up here and bum bum bum. That's stunning. See, that's what we're supposed to have. Like that stands out for a reason, and for a good reason. We want to attract your attention to it. Or if we're down here and we're looking in, wow, that looks cool. But when we had our green rock over here, the record player, and your eyes stand up and your hair stand up, and your head cocks to the side, and you're like, oh, green rock, desert, roggy, rah. Then you know there's something wrong. All right, so keep that in mind. Don't do things like that. Out of place stuff works if you're doing it for an epic reason to draw your player's attention. But if you throw that random focal point out there, yes, exactly. You want it to be important to look here. Okay, I'm barely skating by with this look here. You know, um, I'm skating by. I'm like I'm drawing your attention with it. Not too badly. It's got a little bit of dirt. It kind of looks dirty, like it's ancient. My lore can kind of bring it in. I mean, I'm pushing it with these assets a little bit, you know, but they still kind of fit. But maybe this bridge is pushing a little. But hey, it's my mod too, all right. But I'm not building the mods too super crazy. Um, it just kind of fits the theme a little bit. I want you to look at my pyramids, so I really want you to concentrate on those pyramids because I want it to be majestic. This wall, I want it to look good. So why I started with this look, and I will show you because I don't know if some of you probably haven't seen it, some of you probably have. Let me open up 4.0. So if we go to 4.0, the reason why I'm going with this look is I want it to look like a city, and my lore even states that this city got kind of ransacked a little bit. So let's open it here. Come on. Come on, 4.0. Chugging along. Let's see, I got some Discord activities. Luckily nobody's hating on me. Let's see, not yet anyway. Uh-oh, did somebody tag me? Okay, it just happened. So yeah, map making primer. I like that. It's awesome. Rob's got the map making primer out. Excellent. Lord of the Rings map, Snow Hunter. Okay, that's what Cybercat. I was gonna say somebody tagged me. It's Cybercat. I was gonna make that Lord of the Rings map. Yeah, sure. All right. Let's just pay me and I can get rid of my part-time job and go full-time dev. Okay, so let's go over to our map now. So 4.0 should be open. And the reason why I use those assets from the Epic is because they really fit good with this orange burnt material that Funcom put in. So they really work good together. And that's why I chose them. So that'll explain why. So it's not too stunning in shock. And I might go in and paint some of this orange in over there. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, completely. But what I want to do is make this look like they had a ravaged kind of magical battle here. So that's why you got the burnt, like kind of the wastelands, because this is a world of magic. So we want to give it a look. And I just thought the swamp trees, the Sahara grass, I wanted to bring a different feel to the area. And I wanted it to be, and Peanut's right, you want it aesthetic, you want it cohesive, you want it consistent, you want to keep a theme. And as long as you keep the theme, it fits, your brain's going to continue to go with that theme. But as soon as you start putting snow and gray rocks and purple horseshoes and purple diamonds and purple mushrooms, chances are people are going to be like, what's going on here? So keep that in mind with the aesthetics and the fun stuff like that. Okay? All right, so let's slow that down, our camera. Let's continue working. So we got our rock surface here. I want to make sure this is looking okay. Our crusty kind of weird rock. And we probably could put in another one. But what you want to do too is for like rocks and stuff, you kind of want to break them up. I've used some of the dev rocks. I use some of the same patterns and try to fit them in. Rock building can be kind of funny, and with this, you just got to learn to, yes, the purple mushroom. And you just got to learn to kind of figure out how to create some patterns with the rocks. Sometimes I redo them because I don't like a pattern. You just want it to kind of flow right. So like I still got a lot of rock work over here, things like that. A purple muffin top. Geez, I started a trend. Yeah, we got purple mushrooms from Whack, and now we got a muffin top. This is great. All right, so moving along now. Okay, let's continue working this area. So I'm hoping by the time I get done with the stream, we might be able to get this filled in, hopefully. So let's see here. So let's continue working this edge. Let's get this edge done, get this lined up. We got our rough, kind of rolly, sandy area here. So I'm going to put some of this dry dirt in there. And let's fix that edge too while I'm here. And like I said, if I could get enough modders together to build a map, we would do it. But I just can't get enough of them together to be consistent and stay working on it. And once you dive into this type of work, you're like, oh, what did I bite off into? That is nuts. I should have never done this. And then you start saying, my dog ate my homework. I gotta go now. But he's not showing up to Discord meetings, our mod meeting about where we're gonna paint the giant Himalayan mountain system at. I gotta go to work. Catch you guys later. Looks good. Our mod's doing great. Thanks. But come back. We need your help. No, I should have never started this. But they don't want to tell you, so they start disappearing. They don't want to tell you that I think we bit off more than we can chew, guys. It's too big. So, yeah, it's... So before you get into something big, make sure you're ready. And like me, I think I bit off more than I can chew with this map by myself, so that's why it's taking a little longer to get the mod out. And I wish it wasn't, but it is, because I got all these other projects going, and then we want to create our own game with a couple buddies, so I'm working that issue. So I'm working a dev studio and Conan modding. Awesome, all at the same time. And of course, they're learning from me too, because I'm the experienced guy of the bunch as far as this concerned. So I'm teaching 3 other people too. They're just getting in this on how to world build, and they really like the world building aspect. So, which is good. You got to have somebody who wants to do this. If you're not passionate about this, and you don't want to spend a bunch of time painting and forming terrain. Then you probably shouldn't do this type of work because you will hate it. Sometimes I walk away. That's why I'll do other maps. I'll work on some of my other mods just to take a break a little bit, break things up, the monotony a little bit. Because there is a so-called thing called burnout, and you can get burned out if you're not careful. So like I had to walk away from level building a little bit because I just started getting a little burned out, especially when you keep seeing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You get burned out all the time. Waffle Butter, why are you getting burned out all the time? Why are you getting burned out? Can't have all this burnout going on. Too much burnout. Let's see here. Let's put in some sand. So let's put in some dune sand right through here a little bit, because we want to kind of make it look like it's a little bit of hardened sand, some dune sand mixed in, you know. Because I want to make this like this is kind of blowy sand, it's kind of broken up. You know, so we got some sand and some rock in here. Like this is all kind of blown down through here a little bit, kind of piling in. This is a weird area. Yep, small bits, that's right, small bits and pieces. Absolutely, just take off little chunks at a time that you can work. You know, because if you try to, like I said, if you try to bite off too much to start with, you're going to feel like you regret it. Like, why did I do this? You know, and and if you do decide to create a team with, you know, other modders, you know, remember, you're going to be expected to pull your weight. You know, that's how some of these dev teams stay together. It's because you got to pull your weight and be part of the team. And if you don't, and you can't be a team member, you probably shouldn't be doing this. You should go find solo play somewhere. You know, in a band, a one-man band by yourself, because it's just not going to work out. You know. You got to have a team, especially if you take big project, and build maps. It's going to require more than just one guy. I'm sorry, unless I want to spend the next 20 years and Conan will be obsolete and I'll have a legacy machine trying to run it. And then I'm like, hey, everybody, my mod's done. And everybody's moved on to a different game. Oh, where is everybody? And I got my cane. Back in my day, everybody loved Conan. What happened? Dude, we're on Unreal Engine 10.5. Where were you? So, yeah, definitely make sure you're prepared to work as a team and tackle these issues together. And it'll be cool. And like I said, a bunch of the modders coming together to build. I mean, if they could do one single community project, and I've seen it happen too, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's called Neverwinter Nights. Not the new Neverwinter Nights, but BioWare's Neverwinter Nights before they got bought up by EA. There was what they called the Community Modding Project, and a bunch of D&D fans got together, and believe it or not, they built brand new tiles, 3D models, and basically created a whole nother game in a sense where the community just had a bunch of leaders come together and they created one massive mod project. And when you installed it, it was like you're playing a whole different game because of these guys taking the time working together to make it happen. So it can be done. Especially in today's day and age now. Back then, just think back, that was in the year 2000, late 90s, early 2000s when that happened. It's just getting people working together and being passionate, you know. And that's the key. Passion, work hard, and then play hard, and you will have some awesome stuff. Now I'm just going to copy this. And what's great is when you paste on foliage on top of a static mesh, notice how I get the tree here, and I got some of this foliage already. So that's kind of helpful too in some situations. So I don't have to paint any down because it's already been painted. And I'm just going to bring this in here. And let's just kind of smash it in. Like so. And it looks like it fits almost. And then I'll probably have to remove that rock and maybe remove that rock. And you might not notice the copy paste because you'll be too distracted in taking in the awe and the beauty of the world. Okay. So those are nice little tidbits too. Once you've painted on a static mesh like that, you can get it to duplicate and paint down onto the next mesh that you use. Alright, so moving along. Let's get over here. Let's see, I know I got some static meshes with some bushes and trees already painted. And I'm looking for a rock. And let's do this. Let's copy paste that one here. We'll steal that and we're going to put it over here. And this area needs some love. So let's do that here. And let's move that into here. Because I need to close that gap back there, and it would look kind of strange if I don't fill it. And let's rotate this. Oh, that's what I was going to do too, come to think of it. Okay, so the dev kit has a resource node that's in your way. I'll show you. I'll show you how to do that. So when we do this, so you notice I'm rotating the static mesh, but notice how it's snapping to different angles. All right. And I think I covered this in the first tutorial. However, I'll cover it one more time just in case somebody missed it. What you do is you're going to go up here to the top of your viewport. And this is considered the viewport, by the way, the yellow outline around the window we're seeing. That's the viewport. Okay, and up here you're going to see a bunch of buttons. And let me tilt the camera so we're not in the light. And this nice little brown rock will give us a background here. All right, so you're going to be concentrating on snapping, which this is how your meshes will snap to a grid, the invisible grid or the grid that you can actually see in the air if you fly up. This is your rotation snapping. This is your scale snapping. And then, of course, this is your camera speed. So if we turn this off, we click the orange, we're turning off the rotation tool. We click on our mesh. If we hit our spacebar and our transform, now we have free movement to get any angle we want. So it's not snapping to a locked grid. So we can do something weird like that, something weird like this, etc. Scaling works the same way. It's on a snap. However, if we want to have free scaling, click the button, turn it off. Now you can freely scale. However, remember my first tutorial, be careful on what you're scaling, because if you get too small, you got 1,000 upon 1,000 upon 1,000 triangles. You don't want to get too crazy with the triangles and scaling, or screw up the textures and make them look like they're torn, they're ripped, they're smashed. It just doesn't fit your theme, okay? So you can use it, but use it sparingly for optimization reasons. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're building. And then also keep in mind too, when you're building, don't build things like this where your player can fall and die of starvation, hunger, and never can get out, and then they hate you forever, and they tell you that there's a hole in your mod somewhere, and you're like, but where is it? And they're like, there's a hole near the pyramid. It's at the pyramid. And you're still looking for the hole and you can't find it. All right. So yeah, you'll have that, and you don't want that. So I need to break this up a little bit too. Notice how it's kind of sharp edged here. We got that crack. I want to kind of break up the face of this. I want it to look a little different. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab one of these over here that I have, and I'm going to copy that. Control C, remember that. Come over here, right click, edit, paste here. Oh my gosh, we got a gigantic rock. Use our scaling tool. We can kind of scale it down. I usually keep it on snap most of the time, just so I don't go too huge and go crazy with it. See, see, and here I thought I scaled it correctly, and look at what we did. Now, does that make sense to have a rock like that? Sure don't, Bob. So hit Control Z, Control Y to redo if you want. So we're gonna bring our rock back. Before I scale it, let's go ahead and snap it. So we're in the snap. Okay, good. So now if we shrink it down, oops, and I'm going to tug at one, sorry, and I must have had that one scaled wrong. Ooh, look, see, I made a mistake. It happens. All right, let's go in here, shift it, and let's turn it, and let's just try to get a feel for something we like, and kind of break it up a little bit. Notice how I got some floating rocks because it copied it from another area. So be careful when you do copy some meshes from another area that you might have painted, because they're going to sit at the level that they were painted at. So here's where we get our floating rocks. Okay, and we also see how we got this tree here. So keep that in mind when you're doing that type of stuff. All right. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So those rocks should disappear, and then that tree is probably attached to this rock here or another rock. So let me go get my foliage tool again, single select. Let's delete that palm tree. All right, and then let's go ahead and find that rock in our dev kit here. So let's go here and click the rock. Oops, always forget sometimes myself. Find content in browser. There's that rock I want. Let's go ahead and we'll drag it out so it doesn't have all the foliage attached to it, and then it's at its original scale. So notice how it's at its original, and we got our scale button set, spacebar, and let's transform it one more time, or scale it one more time, then use our tools to move it around, get it into position that we like, that we find visually appealing. That looks okay, and that doesn't look too bad. I like how it kind of broke that up a bit. And then over here, notice how I got a straight edge and stuff, so I didn't finish this area because I still wasn't happy with that corner. But now I think I'm kind of happy how that fills in. So what we're going to do now is flatten that out. So we'll go back to our modes tool, go to our sculpt tool, and now let's go ahead and we're going to flatten this area. And our brush is a little small, so let's bring that up again. I don't know why I keep closing that. I get so used to killing it. So let's do this. I'm going to shift that over. All right, and then flat tool. Let's go ahead and drag the terrain out and kind of flatten it here a little bit. And I want to flatten it against the rock. I want to be too careful because I don't want to mess anything up over here, but see, I still need to finish this corner, like I said. So I'm just going to bring some of this out. And flatten that out. And this is going to be a nice little cubby for something, maybe, perhaps a secret. You know. And it doesn't look too bad. So it's some wandering dirt. But you also got to remember, too, when you start doing that, I created another boo-boo. So you just got to be careful when you do things like that, that the terrain's going to move. Let me go ahead and smooth this out real quick underwater so I don't screw that up too badly. All right, so be careful when you do that, especially when you've already done an area and your fine details. You don't want to screw something up that you've been working on so hardly for over time. So always be aware that you might be throwing something off somewhere else. You know, depending on where you're working. Because I noticed too, if you're like, say you're working over here and you're thinking, oh yeah, and you're flicking around and you're doing some stuff, be careful that you might be going outside and you don't see your brush moving over here and it's pulling terrain and flattening terrain. So just be careful on the angle how you're using your tool too. Okay, keep that in mind as well, because you can be slapping shit, doing this, thinking you're doing blah 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 blah, and then you might throw the brush over here and didn't realize it, and you're creating potholes and what I like to call weird, strange zit appearances in your terrain that you like. Where did that come from? So keep that in your mind as you're sculpting your terrain. All right, let's go back here. Let's flatten this out a little bit more. Maybe meet this here. So let's get that to meet, perhaps. Yeah, let's make that make some sense. So let's sculpt that. Bring it up. Flatten. And like I said, it's kind of your friend when you're sculpting, because you're going to need to swap between sculpt, smooth, sculpt, you know, especially if you're sculpting terrain. We had a discussion earlier about like world terrain editors and stuff like that. Those are fine and dandy. However, you always got to take an effect too when you use those type of programs, that you might find yourself going back in and sculpting anyway to make areas so they're passable, so players and NPCs can actually follow the terrain, because you can get steep angles in the engine where the NPCs, even the players, cannot no longer pass or walk, or it causes all kinds of glitching. The NPCs hop, skip, and jump 10 miles, and you wonder why. It's because the computer, you know, the engine's been trying to get an NPC up a mountain, and you got them going up a mountain like this. Eventually, it might make it, or it might not, but you're asking it to climb an angle that's like impossible. And like world terrain, the world terrain tools and stuff out there, like World Machine, they're cool and all for cool cinematics and stuff like that. But also remember, you got to have passable terrain for players to walk up, climb, stuff like that. But if you have an area where you don't have players climbing and you want it to look magnificent, by all means. But just keep that in mind. You can also import your own height maps with Unreal Engine. I'm sure that the primer that Rob released today in chat is going to be awesome, so I'm going to have to go through it to learn how Funcom has set up the map options, importing and stuff like that, and building your own map. So it would be kind of nice to see that, you know, from their perspective, to make it work really good within the dev kit. Okay, so let's go ahead and smooth this out a little bit. All right. Let's see how that looks. So I kind of want to make it look like there's sand up here, and it's kind of packed in some areas, a little broken, you know, stuff like that. And that's the key, is just trying to make it look natural. And then I want to put some rocks along here to make it look like this is crumbled, you know, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to our foliage tool. Since this tutorial kind of started out in foliage, we'll kind of go back to this, revisit. And like I said, you go in and you select the foliage you want to put down. However, we're not going to put bright green grasses and plants along here. So let's go ahead and hit Shift, and then scroll down, hit Shift again, highlight everything. Let's deselect it because we don't want all this stuff to go down. Boom. All right, then click off to the side somewhere so we don't go ahead and reselect everything. And let's grab our rocks. And, oh, and then I got to cover something too. Peanut was asking about getting rid of resources too. And that's really simple, Peanut. Actually, let's go ahead and do that real quick before I do all this. So the resources, let me put Control and Z. Okay, that should, I think, no, okay, now I'm going to have to physically, yeah, let's just do this. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. And let's deselect, make sure everything's deselected. Check it, uncheck it, now it's all deselected. All right, so I'll use a resource node just because you asked. So we got a sulfur, so I'm going to take the sulfur and I'm going to go in single instance mode and I'm just going to place a couple sulfur rocks. Okay, or say I got sulfur in a spot I don't want, like right here. All right, and I don't want it there. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your foliage tool. You're going to go to the main brush here, and you're going to say single instance, or you can go here and just go to select, which is this arrow. So it's going to singly select each instance mesh. And then all you're going to do is hit your spacebar to go to your different transforms. And we can move this, we can shift it, we can sync it, whatever we need to do, rotate it, whatever you need to do with it, you can use this single select to get rid of it. Or you just hit delete and get rid of it. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these because we don't need them here. So you just select it, delete them. Like so. As long as you have this selected. Okay, this single arrow here is your single grabber. You know, because if you use the loop lasso select, it's going to select everything. You're going to delete it. Or if you accidentally hit this button, which I'm saying do not do this, use the placeable button and you touch all your terrain. Say, oh yeah, I'm going to delete it. You're going to delete all this stuff. So make sure you're not on the place button. Okay. So let's keep to your foliage. Make sure and use a single select to remove or move. Like for instance, like this is kind of jammy. That rock's too close to that tree, so I want to shift it a little bit. You know, for the fine detail points, you know, stuff like that. Okay, so that's what you do with that tool. All right, so reiterating, you probably weren't here when we did cover that before, so I just went ahead and covered it quickly. Okay, so going back to our foliage, we were going to paint some rocks. So let's go in here. Let's see, this is going to be, yep, a 3-hour exactly tutorial. All right. So yeah, some people you'll have to fast forward through my soapbox moments and stuff like that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and select the rocks we want. So you just check mark the little box and the foliage that you want to paint down, which we're doing now. So I want some rocks. I want some of the dry bushes, so let's get some of this shrubbery. Some shrubbery. And let's paint down some of these sticks because we want some resource sticks for our players to collect. And this is going to pick randoms, so not all these are going to paint down. Some will, some won't. It all depends on how much you're going to paint down, you know, and run your tool around. Okay. And then let's go ahead and we'll put a couple trees in. So we'll let the trees automatically apply, and if we have to delete some, we will. Okay, and our brush. So let's double check our brush size here. Now for this area, that might be a little too wide, but we'll see. And let's see if we can get it to make sense. So I'm just left clicking once to kind of paint down, and then just kind of popping them in to see if I like that. And then as you're painting, you know, and it's not close enough for me, I want it closer to the edge. Control Z, so we're going to undo this because I really want it to kind of fill. So I'm going to shrink my brush down just a little bit so I can get in. Yeah, see, like so. And oops, I forgot to deselect that sulfur. We'll get rid of you, sulfur. There's that problem Peanut was talking about. Damn sulfur in my way, I don't want it. And so like I said, see, sometimes the tool is going to give you this crazy shit there. Sometimes you're just gonna have to deal with it. And like I said, you can single select and move it. So what I do sometimes is too is I just paint it down, and then I go through and then I can weed it out because I might like a certain look about how some of the foliage painted down. Ooh, and we're not going to want that tree there. We'll probably end up deleting it, but I want some broken rubble up here. Of course, that tree will probably move, so don't worry. Snow Hunter's not going to break your immersion. We're going to remove that tree. Okay, and let's go ahead and fill this in. And let's put some more along here, because this is our path. And let's make it so our path kind of breaks up too, because we want that path to kind of go this way, and we want the path to kind of go up that way too. So I want to tell the player that, hey, there's something this way, but there's also something up this way too, but they don't know what it is. And then when they lead up this way, then they can start kind of hunting around and maybe find this path eventually up here. So, you know, think of things like that too, to kind of tell the player, hey, there might be something over here you might want to look at. Even though you're not deliberately saying, hey, big sign, hey, there is a tent over here. It's just subtly telling them that, hey, you might want to check this out. All right, so let's go to our single select. And let's start shifting some things around. Now see, we got some double stack meshes here. So you can just move them around. Okay, do I want that rock there? No, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and fix this stuff here. Like we got a gaudy mess here. Let's get rid of that sulfur. We don't want it. Let's put that bush over here. Let's see, let's shift this rock here. Sink it down a bit, put it up against that rock, that'd be okay. You know, as long as it looks alright. I'm going to scale this bush down a little bit, tug it a couple times down. Don't sink it too far. What's in there? This rock here, let's kind of smash it down. Shift this one over like that. Then we got a stick here. Let's get that stick and move it. Let's rotate this tree so it's not, so it looks like it's growing away from the rock because roots don't grow into a tree. And let's see if it's clipping too badly. So let's go ahead and shift it. It's not bad. Okay, that works. Okay. So we just do that. So we see we kind of broke all that a little bit apart. So far so good. Let's kind of get that mess here like that. Yeah, sink that down a bit. And just working our way. Oh, and I want to get rid of this because that looks kind of funky. Let's shift this over like so. Shift that bush over this way a little bit. Kind of bring it apart. This rock. Move this log. Yeah, so it's not buried into a rock. Actually, we got a kind of repeating log there a little bit. So let's just go ahead and let's delete that so it's not repetitive. And then let's just go ahead and bring this kind of this log here for like a little bit of a focal point. There. All right. And then let's just continue working our way down. Obviously, this does not flow. There's no such thing as trees growing out of rocks. In my world, there is. I take purple mushrooms. All right, so just going to rotate that a little bit. Make an interesting rock feature out of those two meshes. Let's just continue working along our edge, and I want to move this towards the rock face a little bit. And then let's clean this big monstrosity up here. So let's do this. We can kind of push that in to help break up some of the lines. And let's do this. Let's go ahead and move that there. Let's rotate it. Yeah, that don't look bad. Move this along. And see, the single select tool is very friendly, especially when you need to do those fine details. You know, and keep in mind too, the clipping of your foliage. You don't want trees inside rocks. It just doesn't look right. You know, so keep that in mind when you're doing this thing. This nice artistic look. You know, that's kind of borderline there with that palm. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just slightly move it out just a little bit more so it flows right. Our big tall palm tree. And see, like over here, this tree, oddball place for it, but what we can do is move it up to the sand and we can rotate it. And let's put a little bit of a lean on it so we can kind of lean it a little bit away from the rocks. But we don't want too steep of a lean that's not realistic. Yeah, then you got leaning trees are weird. Okay. And we'll shift that over. And basically you just go through, you know, and you find those oddball things and just clean them up like so. Especially if you're shooting for a nice mod, you know, you want to really immerse the player. TCS, it's that time again. Well, you caught me, buddy. Caught me 3 hours into the stream. So, yep, just carefully work your way through. Now this is a bit of a cluster right here, so I'm going to go ahead and smooth this just a little bit. So go back to our smooth tool here. So sculpt, smooth. Let's just smooth this down a little bit and see how that foliage transforms here a little bit. Like so. Okay. We still got some bushes and rocks, but then I want to also fix this angle because I want it to sink under the rock. I want it to look like that dirt's kind of piling against the rock. So we got to carefully sculpt this up, but I want to make sure I'm not going to tweak too much back here. And just be careful. And just bring our terrain up a little bit. Oops. Let's get our angle over here so our brush is over here. That way we're not messing with anything back here. Because depending on the angle you're looking, you can really jack that stuff up like I was saying before. Okay, now let's go ahead and smooth this. Yep, so like I said, I do a lot of hand sculpt my own terrain. Just because I think it looks better. It gives you the ability to control the routes and stuff like that. You know, where you want to route players for a particular reason, and it gives you the ability to fix those minute things that World Machine and stuff don't allow, or some height maps don't allow. Let me go ahead and sculpt that up a little bit right here. Let's go ahead and put a little angle on our terrain here, like so. And then let's go ahead and smooth it slightly. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Once you get used to the coordination with your fingers, the controls, the camera, the stuff starts getting a little bit more natural. And that's kind of a crazy rock there. All right, sink this rock. All right, so what's everybody think? Does that look much better than what we had before going there, right in this corner? See how it fills the area and just kind of makes it makes it more beautiful. I got a little bit more work in this little spot up here we'll fix, but for the most part, you know, we're kind of filling the area that I wanted to do in the tutorial here, and take some time and, like I said, go over some art stuff, um, the visuals, you know, things like that. I might put something here to break this up here, this little bit of area, and fix this kind of this sand slope here, you know, and yeah, I think it's coming along nicely. I mean, it's been a lot of work out here and stuff, but I didn't get a whole lot done because I've been talking and doing the tutorial. Usually I can just zip on right through here and just start, you know, putting stuff down. But this is more of a slow version of me, slower version, to give you an idea of how to do some of this stuff. So, all right, so it's been 3 hours, so this is one of the longest tutorials I've done. And like I said, for those of you who catch this later on, just go ahead and fast through for yeah, I like how I can't talk sometimes. Fast forward through those areas where I'm on my soapbox, and we're having deep, dark discussions about modding, people working together, and being a team. And concentrate on the important areas if you can, and cut those out, and you know, get what you need out of it. Hopefully, hopefully a lot of you have learned things that you didn't know before. Hopefully that helps. I try to explain it in very layman terms. I mean, I can watch videos where people are talking in technical art, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Or you can just be layman and go in here, talk, show it happening, and not throw all the technical aspect. Well, you know where the alpha meets the green and the RPG or the RGB mixes with the tangents of the triangle flowing through the great waters. I try to avoid that, a lot of that technical talk, and keep it more of you know, easier to understand. Because I've watched some tutorials, it's just the technical talk will just blow your mind. You'd be like, whatever. The colors of the wind are pink, purple, orange, and brown. Crumb laughs at your four winds. So, but your god sits under my god. My god is the everlasting sky. And Subutai got Conan once and for all. And that's where he's like, that was my favorite part of that movie. It's like, wait a minute, Crom sits under... Oh, wait a minute. Subutai had him. Caught him. Okay. Well, I think we covered a lot today. And like I said, I appreciate all the folks who tune in. Actually, this is probably the most viewers I got, is around 10, which is kind of great. I try to stream at good times, but I work the night shift here on the East Coast, so I usually don't get off work until 12 midnight. So sometimes I'll do a late stream and stuff like that. And I figured I'd get a tutorial out because it's probably going to be another week or so before I can even do another tutorial. So hopefully this is a long one that can be broke up and you've learned some new things. I will try to tackle, hopefully in the next tutorial we'll tackle water, and then, or we'll do NPCs. I haven't really made up my mind yet. We'll figure that out. I think if we do post-processing volumes and water, maybe later, because it requires a little bit more very careful strategic planning and placing, and I don't want to just slap some shit down and say this is the right way to do it. So I really want to give you the riddle of steel correctly. And then lighting's a big one. Lighting's a funky one, so definitely lighting will take some time as well, and I'm still learning a lot about lighting myself now, especially since the engine's been fixed for lighting for us, because before lighting volumes were not working, but now they seem to be, so this is great. And then NPCs, they might be a little bit easier, but they're going to require a lot of data table entry, so they're going to be kind of boring at the same time as kind of fun, but boring. So that's going to be a little bit longer tutorial and more in-depth stuff. let's see, I'm trying to think of anything else what we'll cover. Probably we will cover NPCs, post-processing volumes, water and physics volumes. We'll cover a little bit more art. Um, we'll probably cover optimization. I need to read up more again on what's the word I'm looking for? Occlusion. So, like, distances, how you're viewing. You want to make sure you have some occlusion too. So you don't really want like large open straightaways because the engine is trying to render. So you kind of want to create, you know, areas where it's kind of occluded. So it's a funky term, but it's for a reason, for optimization, to cut off certain render distances. I mean, I might be pushing it right here a little bit. It just takes so much time to do, but when you do it right and you do it, and it turns out good. Um, Especially in like some of the city stuff, you want to use occlusion as well, to break up long distances and stuff like that. So it's a big technical art thing, and I'm still researching it, so I understand a little bit more and grasp the concept. Thank you, Az. I appreciate it. It's coming along. It's months of work, months of work. But yeah, you guys are going to be hopefully experiencing this if I can get my ass in line. Um, I need to put in the curse wall blockers. Um, I got to finish this area here, or what I might do, be just kind of be of a jerk and be a little bit of a teaser. I could put a blocker across here, so where you can't go back in here unless you fly around and be a cheater as an admin. But I could probably start populating this with NPCs, getting the lore finished up in here, because I've already got the dungeon connected. So the dungeon door is connected, so this is actually going to take you into the dungeon. I don't know if you guys seen my videos. Well, this is my personal mod. It's going to be the Lost Lord of the Exiles. You can, if you're a Patreon and you're subscribed to my Patreon, you can also subscribe to my test server, and you can actually play through parts of this right now, checking it out. I've had a couple people who go in, they help me out, they send me bug reports if I've missed something, because you can, especially being solo and not having a big QA team. What you're gonna find is this is what you're gonna go back to the desert. So my idea, like I said, is I want to revisit areas of the exile lands where I felt this area here was so unused, which could have been used, but I understand why it wasn't, for story-wise and purposes. But I want to bring players back through here, and when you hit this door, and there's a couple other doors here that might take you some chambers, but I ain't gonna say what. But you hit this door, I'm giving you the illusion in the desert that you're seeing the pyramids, okay? So you're so low to the ground here, you're not even going to see that. But you're going to see the wall, you're going to see the pyramids in the back, and then it's going to teleport you over here to where you're going to be at this door. So that door I just showed you is this door here, and it's going to open you up into this height map here. So this nice giant square tile is going to be a whole new area to explore. So it's going to be kind of a dungeon within itself. And then in here is a door that you're going to click on that's going to take you, and I will give you guys a sneak peek if you haven't seen some of the video footage of my teasers. Let me open up the door here, and then let's see what level it was. 30, I think it's 30, make sure it's 30. Is it 30? I think it's 30 and 31. And I'm using the camp mod levels that the devs gave us, so that's great. Okay, yep, that's where the dungeon's sitting. So you're going to click on that pyramid door, and it's going to teleport you under the dregs right now because I'm using the light effects from the dregs for this dungeon. And let's slow our camera down. So when you hit that pyramid door, it's going to bring you to this. And I got some lore books already in place. Lighting. And as you make your way down, of course, I'm going to show you NPCs right now. And I might play the videos. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to play them from this screen. I'll have to swap over to my other stream thing. But yeah, so it's all set up. You're kind of creeping in on a sandy pyramid. Some story here. There's a lot of work involved in this. So basically, think of this as the War Maker and Wine Cellar, um, big stuff here, going all the way through here. Um, I did like the little lever thing that you can find in the Exile Lands if you haven't found that neat little thing from the gaming guys. I can't even think of their names right now. But there's a lot of cool stuff that you're going to run into. Oops, and I didn't load that portion, but this is part of the other part of the dungeon. But I didn't load that part for you. Um, so yeah, just a quick run through how big this place is. It's going to be great to explore. I really like creating areas where players can actually explore. So if you enjoyed the wine cellar, I really had an opportunity to make that so people could run around and look behind corners and crevices and cracks, and it turned out really great working with the dev team on that. This is going to be kind of nostalgic in this next area here. This is, if you remember the Conan movies, which I recommend you watch. So when you hit the music player here, and some folks just loved it that have been testing it, but the music here is going to be reminiscent to a lot of the Conan fans of the movies, especially. This room is cool when you're in it. You will like it, and you're going to be given kind of a choice. Um, yeah, I'll let you guys figure that out when you get to it. Um, it's kind of funny because some people either choose to go hog wild crazy, others choose not to. It's up to you, but just know that if one of your choices could be could be life threatening, or you can just carry on and make your way to the main, the final, the finale. Um, this room is amazing. I had a friend help me build this, and yeah, this is gonna be a fun fight through here, and hopefully my boss works correctly. I might have to have Hades help me with it just in case if it's been broken or anything like that. But the boss fight will be an interesting one here too. So, and then you make your way out, and it will teleport you out. So, a lot to look forward, a lot to yeah, bite off and chew on. It's been a making for 2 years, off and on. That's why my riverboats dungeons currently kind of been neglected a little bit. Is because we started this project, but then a couple of the other modders that I had working with me, a couple of friends, fell off the team. They couldn't finish. Life came along and kind of screwed this up 2 years ago. So I've been just doing it on my own now. And I'm trying to, it's actually the shortened version. Let me put it this way. This actually had bigger aspirations, but now it's been cut down to 2 map tiles and 2 dungeons. So it was planning to have 5 dungeons and about 5 to 6 map tiles. So that's now been canked to 2 since I'm solo man now. So thank you, Azatari. Appreciate it. Whew, it's been a long journey. And of course, I also had the Funcom contracts come up during this time too. So, yep, a lot of that stuff. But it paid off in the end, though. I've gotten my skill sets increased, so I can't wait for everyone to actually play it and get the feedback on it. I think it's going to wow a lot of folks who don't follow the streams in my YouTube. I know. The thing is I could have had a job. Let's just say where I live, I'm 2 hours away from the development studio in Raleigh. Uh, the thing is, they really want me to be living up in Raleigh, and Raleigh being a big city. Long story. I just don't know if I want to live in Raleigh. Um, It's just I'm so used to the rural areas where I'm living now. It's like, do I really want to work in that city and travel every day? And this is cool work. Don't get me wrong, man. It's like the possibility of working for them and doing this type of stuff would be awesome. If I could work from home for them, that would be great, because that'd be up my alley for sure. Uh, but yeah, hopefully this will make it. Um, I think this will bring a lot of attention to the game too. It helps. I can't believe I am just ecstatic. Like my Steam, and let's see if I can bring it up actually, if Steam will come up and be cooperative. I couldn't believe that this started to happen in the last couple months. I think, well, 2 months ago. So 2 months ago on my Steam, I started getting all these emails. I couldn't understand why, but then I started getting these things here, and it's really blowing my mind that I kept getting all these awards. I was like, wow. So it was kind of cool. So that's what keeps me going, and a lot of modders too, like yourself. We do this for free, and when you get those kudos and people love your stuff, it really helps us motivate, because we are doing this for free. We love the game. We're passionate about what we're doing, and we like the WoW players and WoW people and the community. And the more that we get those kudos and support, it helps us develop like we have. So getting these 13 Michelangelos, 11 gotta have it's, and 4 extra helpfuls, and a hot take chicken, whatever it means, but it's kind of cool. So that's what motivates me to continue on. It's like, wow, I just couldn't believe that, and getting all these awards on Steam. So, thank you. So that helps. Those things are really cool to receive, and getting the input from the community that's all out there. It's a big thing that keeps us going, and being able for us to provide you this type of stuff. And some of us, we have Patreons, for our time and donations, and it really helps too. Those donations help me keep my server running. It also allows me to purchase assets for the dev kit that you can't normally get in game, that I can buy from the Epic Store and bring in some of those things. So that helps a lot too. And it allows me to buy coffee and sodas and chips when I do this stuff. So, but much appreciated to the community. It it helps. So I really appreciate everybody following and stuff like that. But it's 5:30 Eastern time. It is now 3 hours, 3.5 hours of doing this. Like I said, hopefully the tutorials helped a lot of people. I'll do some more, time permitting. So like I'm pushing this one before I go to work, but I want to get it out there, because I know since now with Funcom doing the maps, I'm going to be getting nailed left and right as being like, because I'm the map and dungeon guy. I want to get some out there so that it kind of helps answer those questions for you. So that way I'm not being killed with questions, but I'm here to help. But it'll lessen some of those questions for me, and they'll be self-explanatory in some of these videos. And like I said, you can always fast through these videos, get through my rants and raves. And I really appreciate the support and everybody showing up today. So this is the most viewers I've gotten on this type of work, because I know some people find this work boring and not to their style, and that's okay. It's not blueprinting. So once this craziness stuff is out the way, I will be able to spend more time on that character for your game. Excited to do it. So much going on right now. Oh, no worries. Yep. I got a lot going on. I got this. I got my game that I'm trying to develop with a few folks. So I understand how time's constraints and commissions. So, okay, no worries. Sounds cool. Sounds good. But like I said, to those who are into map modding, it's the thing. If you can get a bunch of people who want to work together and build a giant new addition to Conan, since we now have the ability to build our own maps and implement them a little much easier into the game, yeah, it's quite something serious to think about. So I'll toy with the idea. It takes me a while to come around, but I'll toy with the idea if I can find folks who are dedicated. So, but anyway, without further ado, let's see. Let me actually go ahead and swap this. Let me give you guys the videos if you haven't seen them already. So let me go ahead and switch my scene here real quick, and we'll get to the videos. But let me make sure my scene's set up correctly. Alright, let's make sure. Okay, the promo videos. Alright, so here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the promo videos. Let you guys take a look at that, and then I'll come back, and then I will end the stream. Alright. So hopefully this works.
This land is not love, men. You are a leaf blown by the storm, driven this way and that. At first, you struggled to control it, but then you learned to guide it. You are a part of the storm. You are the storm. The struggle defines you. Thirst and hunger are your enemies, and every time you beat them, you grow. Your strength returns, exile. With the passing days, you forget more and more of your past. With each step, it tatters and fades. You live for the clash of battle, the flavor of the hunt, the freedom of exploring. Is it enough? Today, you thought about your life before the exiled lands. The memory fades against the bright, bloody battle to survive. You feel something awakening within you. It has become clear to you now that the old life you were living was killing you. You followed the same patterns and cycles day in and day out, and called it life. You have broken the cycle. The world does not care about you. Indifferent to the things that you do, it is your will that shapes it. Your will and your choices. Choose wisely. You clearly see the steps that led you here. Every step creates the journey. You cannot see the future, but every step will bring you closer to it. As you grow strong, you grow wiser. Your view has shifted. What was once hard is now as easy and natural as breathing. You are calm. Burn with life. Slay and survive. We will meet again.
Alright, so that's basically it there. So that was kind of the promo videos to give everybody an idea. So that gives you a better scale too. So anyway, like I said, thanks for tuning in. Glad everybody's enjoying this, and those who tuned in for the educational stuff. Like I said, hopefully I helped out a lot of people. But I need to roll. So thank you again for all your support, and those of you who tuned in. I appreciate it, and I will catch you next time. You can catch me in the the modding Discord, stuff like that, or send me any messages. Feel free. I'll try to get back to you when I can, and hopefully we can set up some sort of better map channel or something like that. So, without further ado, thank you very much again, and I will leave you guys for now. So, hopefully you'll catch me on the next stream. Bye, everybody.